Alright. Hello and welcome to the third session of Anima Ruins of the Old World. Today we have something special. We have a little bit of betrayal. Um, Last we had seen your character. You were in the middle of discovering that your friend, Lucent, the artist, the one who's supposed to make ballads and portraits out of everything that happens with the expedition, was using mummy brown for one of his painting, a paint that is based on the remains of the mummified corpse, and that the portrait he had made had started being haunted. You were in the courtyard of the Pharaoh's palace when this happened, and yeah, there's shades of old all around you, staring towards Lucent and his artwork. What do you do?
So, Lucent, that paint may be a problem.
Oh,
Yeah. Because there's all
but
kinds of unhappy people who you made the paint out of or were made into the paint that you used.
oh no. Is there any way we could get rid of them? Because I'm really happy about the way this turned out, and so is so is Hero. Oh my god, I think Hero is gonna kill me if something happens to the painting.
Hmm.
Uh,
Now, I got a question for you. Can I, with my... Well, actually, I don't think I can banish. I don't banish yet.
you like you would need to gather as many bonuses as you could, but here's the problem. Ghosts are special, in that they are between worlds for a couple of days or a couple of hours after their death, before the fact that they stayed in the world transforms them into undead, and undead are immune to summoning skills unless if the summoner is undead himself.
Oh,
Yeah. Undead constructs and natural creatures are the three categories that you cannot use your summoning skills on, and then there's creatures that have such a high gnosis that they can't be touched. But most of the creatures in this game are still reachable by your powers.
okay. So, Lucent, I have to ask you, where did uh, where did you exactly get this paint?
I found a leg of one of the people of one of the guards that Hero was fighting while you were ordering the zombies away, the mummies away, and I just felt like I picked it up when we were running out, and because it looked exactly the right shade of brown that I needed, and then I made it into a paint.
So, after being very specifically given instructions that we were not to take
Yeah.
anything whatsoever from the temple, you
Hmm.
disregarded that and actually not only took something from the temple, you took an actual physical part of a being that was imprisoned as a guardian in that temple.
You know, it's the first time that, not counting going on the Zeppelin, of course, that I was in a life and death situation, and with the rush of adrenaline when Hero told us that we were getting out of here, I thought, I was really happy to be alive, and I'm not sure my thoughts were working properly in that moment. And there's there's something that catches your third eye. It is one of the shades that instead of being that instead of being like concentrating on Lucent in his painting, instead standing next to Lucent and looking towards you. And you picked up on that on this presence earlier, but you feel right now that your third eye is there's something that's happening to it that hasn't happened to you as a human ever.
Okay, I will look at him and see if I can gauge his true name by looking at him with my third eye.
Okay, so you close your eye again, and divas have the power to, with their pureborn divas, not Nephilims like you who are in a human body, have the third eye manifested physically, and when they are able to communicate telepathically and emotionally through their eye, transmit images, memories, and things like that. And curiously enough, your third eye isn't present physically, but there's a diva attempting communication with you through it anyways.
I will listen if it's
Okay,
possible.
it is. You hear the thoughts of a diva that you thought dead long ago and that you thought finally dead a couple of days ago. It's Ja. And he's he you can like feel his thoughts brushing against you, and he's telling you, um, uh, I took control of this poor artist. Once you freed me, you commanded me to go to my resting place, but your first sentence freed me from your orders, and now, once again, I roam the land.
Okay, is that something you want?
There's a pause, and then he says, "I know I'm driven by one thing, all these years it hasn't been freedom. I want to enact a proper revenge upon you, and once this is done, we'll see what I'll do."
Well, you're not going to get that because you were wrong then and you're wrong now. And you should stop being childish and petty. And you should accept the fact that you brought that upon yourself. And I attempted to release you the very first moment that I had the ability to. And now you want to come after me with revenge? I was willing to try and help you, to try and figure out how to let you move on, to let you go to where you are supposed to be. But if you're going to remain here and you're going to act in this petty and spiteful fashion, then I have no interest in helping you. In fact, now I'm going to make it my mission to find a way to send you away as quickly and expediently as possible, rather than as considerate as possible to help you properly arrive at the place you're supposed to be. I'm just going to do the easiest thing I can to get rid of you. Now, would you?
Petty and spiteful. It's weird. You don't remember any of the years after you entombed me, do you?
Not yet?
Well, we'll see who was acting petty and spiteful when you do remember. And
Do you remember?
he breaks off the communication.
Oh.
Um, and yeah, you feel like by his movement away from the painting, all the other shades sort of like move away. Um, but yeah, you're alone once again with Lucent, who asks, "Hey, are you okay? You seem really mad with your eyes closed like this."
Yeah, they're really mad too, and you really couldn't have made a worse possible choice to grab that. And now here's where the problem lies. The one person that I think may be able to help us out here would be the very person who has not only issued the command for you not to take anything out of the temple, but would likely be the judge, jury, and executioner when he finds out that you took something out of the temple.
Oh, the priest of the high priest of death.
Yes.
Okay. We could get everyone to run to the Zeppelin and leave.
So, uh, yeah, but you still release
Ah,
them by bringing them here, and you incorporated them into our world. You put them into the painting. You
uh,
you bound them here. They're beyond my ability to do anything about, so I can't stop it. So there's nothing I can do directly other than try to help you figure out who else might be able to assist us. But you're dragging this along with you, so everybody that you interact with, and now me, because I've interacted, is I've been dragged into it as well. So it's going to continue to grow with everyone that we talk to.
okay. Uh,
It's like you have a virus, and you're going to pass
spread.
it to everybody.
Okay. I'm going to go stay in my room safely.
No, you're
And
going to go destroy the painting. You're going to burn it by fire, and you're going to do everything you can to destroy all the physical remains, and hope that that resolves the situation. What'd you do with the rest of the leg? Did you consume the entire leg in the making of the paint?
oh, yes, I got 6 pots of paint in my quarters.
Right, and the slightest dot that you dripped or dropped or spread or got on something means that there's part of it still in existence. And so even if you burn all the rest of it, that may be enough to make these specters continue to stay here and haunt you.
Okay, uh let's find a fire then. He looks down at his painting and he's like and like he gives it a hug before saying, okay, let's burn it and get the paints too.
We can try.
Okay, so what do you do first?
I think we need to figure out where we can start a fire and not draw attention to ourselves.
Um, the Pharaoh's palace might not be the most discreet of places to do that.
Right. Probably not.
There are some like no those big bowls. I think they're called braziers.
Braziers, yeah.
Uh, yeah. Um, that gets lit towards the entrance and along and along the palace when night falls. But currently, the sun is still high in the sky.
So we're gonna try and burn this in a brazier. Where can we find a convenient brazier large
Bridge.
enough, like large enough to get the painting in? I mean, I guess we could break and fold the painting up and put it in there.
I mean, where can we find a bridge to
No, a
put the painting?
brazier. Where can we
Oh,
find
a
a brazier?
brazier. Oh, yeah, like at the entrance, the braziers for the pharaoh are enormous and perfectly symmetrical.
Ah, but I don't know if I want to try and take one of the pharaoh's braziers.
Okay. There are some other ones at different places of the city, like around the main um, around the main town square, which has a market that lasts well onto the night. It has fires and it has like big braziers at the entrance of it. But there's lots of people that go there. Um, and otherwise, you can go beyond this. You can either go into like a less part of the town that has less people, or you can go out of the town to into either the desert or the lands flooded by the river around it. Mm, let's
Uh,
see. It's called the Iomet River.
But I don't know that we're going to find a brazier out there by the river.
But you would find trees and wood.
Yeah. But I like the idea of the brazier because that's going to contain the heat better and it's going to make a hotter fire, which is going to be more likely to actually consume since this is ground up bone in there. We really want to make sure that it's burned to ashes. And I don't know if a regular wood fire would do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be on you, Lucian. You're going to need to find yourself a brazier. Then you're going to need to get that brazier down there and out there by the river, and then we can go collect wood and swall wood and build a fire in there and put it in there. And you have to get your painting. You have to get all that those pots of the paint out there without spilling one single drop anywhere at all along that way. Can't
All
spill a
right.
single drop.
He looks down, he hands you the painting, and he says, I'll take care of the brazier, the wood, and the oil and the fire. And I'll meet you down by the river when I think your creature can track my smell.
Yes.
Okay. Can you go and get the paints?
Well, I could get the paint. The problem though is that I want to try and not be involved as much as possible. And
Please help me. Like you can see that like ever since you saved his life in the tomb, he looks up to you a lot.
Yes, I think I can get the paints.
Thank you so much. And he like runs off towards the river.
Okay.
And he's gonna gather all of the materials. He's gonna spend all of the gold he's been given for the expedition on resolving this mess. Like he promises you he's gonna like do whatever he can. So,
okay.
What do you do in the meantime? You head off to his quarters?
Yes, but I do need to get a pot large enough for me to put all of the 6 pots because I don't want to carry 6 pots of paint because that's 6 opportunities for spilling something. So I want to get 1 pot, therefore there's only 1 chance of spilling the paint. And so I'm going to look to try and get something like that, and preferably something large enough that I could also bend and fold this painting up and fit it in there as well.
Okay. There's constantly cooks and servants moving in and out of the castle with different with things that are woven out of the plants that come from the river. And so like they have baskets and things like this that can transform and pots made out of bird's clay that can transport liquids. So yeah, so you see you see servants, especially those who go to the kitchen a lot. Moving around with pots like these.
Gotcha. So that sounds like a great idea, except I have not forgotten my altercation with that clown from the kitchen. So instead, what I'm going to try and do is find Lily.
Okay. She's like you can hear her voice coming from the kitchen, and apparently because it's one of your last days in Stygia, she's preparing a special treat for both the what is it called? For both the expedition and the fair, and like you can hear her giving out those instructions and saying that like how thankful she is for the help from the workers preparing this like special treat for everyone. So yeah, she's in there, but she's moving in and out as well. Because like she's working a bunch. Oh, you know what? We have seen her being very clumsy in the past. I think she like once you get near the kitchen, she's going to open the door straight into your face.
Okay.
All right.
Given my delayed reactions, I'm sure it hits me.
Your?
Remember my flaw?
Yeah, you have lower initiative because you
Yeah.
have delayed reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's like there's like a bang when the door bangs into you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
I think I'll make it. I think I'll live.
Hey, that's very nice. Were there these many petals flying around you in the when we were getting on the Zeppelin? I don't remember there being that many.
There was actually more.
Huh. I guess Lucent has quite an eye. So, uh, uh,
Maybe you could do me a
oh,
favor. I I need a large pot, like a large clay pot, like about this high and about this big around, maybe at least. But one that I could have. Like I don't want to take one that would be a problem if it never made it back. Like so, I'd like to have one for my own to do whatever I want with. Do you think that's
one second.
possible?
She turns around, she comes back, and there's this like pot that she has that has a crack to the side, and it looks really well made. But she tells you, I spilled this, and it's nearly broke. And I know that they don't want the ones that break even a little because they threw out the other ones that I. Here you go. She hands it to you.
But it's got a crack in it.
Yeah, but it's not like a crack that leaks. It's just that it's like it's been damaged
Oh,
because
okay.
she's clumsy.
Oh, that will do perfectly. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'm preparing a surprise in there, so don't go. Don't come in the kitchen. And she goes back in. You make your way to Lucent's quarters, and you make your way to where his paints are, and you see none of the colors of brown are there. It seems like all of the pots that had the color brown in it are gone.
All right, I will put down the pot, close my
Mhm.
eyes, open my third eye, and look around to see if I see any of the spirits here.
You do not.
Do I see anything that might give off an indication, like that has the paint in it or on it or wherever the paint is? I don't know if the paint itself is
You,
on there.
you feel a very slight spiritual presence in like on the shelf where there are all of the colors. There's a very slight spiritual presence, like an after image, in a spot that has nothing. Like in a large spot that could fit multiple vials of color, where there's nothing there.
Hmm. So do I think that the that those that either Ja or the other spirits like that, would they? I mean, I know they have the ability to push stuff and knock stuff over and throw stuff around, but picking something up and actually carrying it, could they do something like that without directly possessing somebody?
You have seen them move some stuff to with enough precision to try to kill Lucent.
But I'm
Yeah.
thinking not about throwing things. I'm thinking about actually picking them up and carrying them away, like that level of fine manipulation. Are
It
they?
would need it would need a certain drive, a certain willpower to be able to keep focusing like this. Only the most angry of ghosts might be able to pull it off.
Well, we certainly don't know any of those. Ah, great. If I keep saying it, will it go away?
No.
There is no angry ghost. There is no angry ghost. Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about. Great.
I, I think that's literally one of the lines of your character as you're like leaving Lucen's place. Uh,
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Oh,
okay.
this is terrible.
Um, that's when, in the corridors of the palace, you meet Aziz, and as you were like heading in one direction, she's heading in the other direction, and like you're about to pass each other by, and she grabs your arm and pulls you behind a column. Um,
All right.
and and she says, uh, "Sir, have you seen any pots of color flying around here?"
Funny you should say that. I was actually looking for a several pots of brown paint.
It, did they come from your artist's place? Because if
Yes.
there's any magic that's linked back to your expedition, you might all get executed. Like magic is deeply forbidden here, apart from the high priests.
Well, this is something that was done by the high priests, actually, so I hope they're not going to kill themselves if they find out.
Okay, but why would it be linked to your friend's paints?
So,
You tell her.
no, I said, so,
Hmm,
and then I'm
okay.
looking at her with that awkward, like,
Okay. She sighs. She says, "Listen, I'm part of a group called the Brotherhoods, and originally our group didn't have very good intentions towards you. But when you saved my life in the tomb, I convinced them to change their minds, and now they're and I'm trying to repay my debt to you for saving my life. I will help you, whatever it is."
I see. By the way, does she have that, like, she's got that odd thing covering her face in her picture?
Yeah, there's this huge scarf. She takes it off when she's not in the desert.
Oh, okay. No, I was just wondering if I ever seen her whole face,
Mm.
and does she
Yeah,
look normal?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering. I got to know, maybe I was covering up. She's got like a giant Anubis jackal jaw or something. But okay,
Yeah,
so regular
nothing
regular
supernatural about
looking.
this. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's human looking person.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, here's the thing. The So remember how like the Art Guardians all like came after us and started attacking us, and then you may or may not know that I may or may not have summoned Conifer's essence to dismiss all of them and send them away.
I am able to sense things like this. Sometimes I figured you were the one doing this because you shouted the orders and they listened.
Yes. So apparently somehow something went wrong there, and uh, I was able to release them from being uh, bound there, but not send them to his final resting place because I set him in the wrong order. So instead of commanding him to return to his final resting place, I freed him, which meant that he was no longer bound to obey my orders, and I didn't issue it as a direct command to him. Rather, I told him it socially at that point because of the order of things. So anyway, he's still around, and now he's mad, and he somehow made Lucent take a particular item that made the most miraculous brown. Well, here you can see for yourself. Obviously, this brown. This is a magnificent brown. It really captures the
It took
beauty.
something from the tomb.
Well, he was sort of possessed to do so by the creature that was there. In his
Oh.
highly excited state, it was able to manipulate him in some fashion to do that. And so, yeah. Although none of this would have ever happened if it wasn't for Conifer doing this in the first place and binding that guy there. So, but I don't want to get into which one of the high priests is responsible for this ultimately, because I don't want to. I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just looking to set things right. So what we need to do is find all that paint, I think, and I can't banish them because they're already too connected to this world. So I'm hoping that burning their remains will be enough to sever their link, but I can't be sure.
It should, but we need to find the other ones. And she shows you. I found this one flying around the corridors. It's lucky that I was the first one to notice. I just punched whatever was carrying it and took it. I didn't know if the thing carrying it was a spell or a ghost or something. Yes, it was a ghost. So she puts it in the bucket and she says, um, "We have to track the other ones, and I don't know how."
Yes. Well, perhaps if there were some special someone, and I turn and look at Godric, who had
Yeah,
the ability to track things by scent.
roll for tracking
Is he
with
getting
Godric's.
excited as I'm talking about
Yeah,
him, as if he's not there, but as if he's this wonderful who could track things with a
he's
supernatural degree of quality and capability?
he's excited to be of use. Also, I should mention one of the things that's special about Godric is that his entire species has the innate ability to touch ghosts and to touch anything that is immaterial.
Oh, good. That'll help.
Yep. Um.
Oh, he only has a 50 in track.
Huh. Um. Okay. Yeah. 94 is 94 is good enough. So basically, like, yeah, he can smell the different scents, like heading off into different direction from Lucen's room. Some of them through the window directly into the city. Um, so you start tracking them down, and a lot of them didn't actually make it very far. For example, one of them was just placed like behind Lucen's door, and just like to like at the corner where the door opens. And you it doesn't seem like like most ghosts have too much power to do this, but you you track the last one down to the edge of the city, and as you go by, you see a lot of people who's like some people seem to have like seen it. Some people see you see someone who's like laying down on in the bazaar, like on in a shop of cushions, and just having like a couple of people fan over him because he seems to have fainted. And you make your way to the edge of town, and um, you find the last pot just on a dune of sand, and there's like two footprints in the sand next to the bottle. The footprints that made it all the way to the dune and just stop next to where there's next to where the pot is.
All right. I say just a moment. And I close my two eyes and open my one.
Um, so there's uh, you can see once again Ja, and he's just looking out into the enormous expanse of the uh, desert, and he doesn't move when you arrive. And he seems there seems to be less of him than before. Like he's slowly becoming more and more transparent.
Okay. I will ask Godric if he's aware that he's there.
Yes, Godric is aware of his smell and could fight him, and could strike him down if he wanted to.
Has Godric healed up yet?
Yes,
Okay.
you've healed up completely, you and Godric, and you've regained all of your Xeon in the days since the tomb trap.
Okay. So then I will attempt to walk closer to him, looking at him. I remember where I'm assuming when I look at him, he's standing in the footprints that I saw before when I looked at him with my regular eyes.
Yes.
Okay, so knowing where the pot is, I don't want to kick the pot.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see the pot?
Not when you're. Oh yeah, no. With your third
Yeah.
eye, you're able to see the spiritual energy that like connects him to the.
Okay, so I'm gonna then try and go over and get the pot, but I'm keeping an eye on him. I know I only have one, but I mean whatever. I'm trying to watch him also in case he reacts quickly. And I just want
Yeah.
Godric to be ready. And the moment he moves in any aggressive action, I want Godric to just jump on him and wrap him up.
Okay. He does not move. You pick the color in your hand, and he does not stop staring at the horizon.
Okay, I'll back away from him so that Godric is between he and I.
Okay. Godric is between you and him.
And I want Aziz back also out of harm's way behind me, beside me or behind
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Aziz has her eyes on the footprints in the sand, and she has like her hands raised as if she's ready to fight.
Okay. And I will speak to him.
Okay.
Oh,
What do you say?
he's looking in the horizon. Is he by any chance
Yeah.
looking back towards where our homeland was as Diva?
He is looking towards the east. Yes.
Do you wish to return?
And he, you see his lips moving, but you don't hear anything. He has to like turn to you and connect both of your eyes, and you hear him saying, "I wanted to give you a wild goose chase all over the world. That was going to be your punishment. Unable to release me, you just keep going forever, but." I can't anymore. I've waited for freedom too long to keep going. And like he waves at the pot and he says, "Go, destroy it. Let me be finally in peace. And when you remember everything else that you did to me, I'll uh, you'll understand." And he sort of like fades as he takes his first step into the desert.
I am truly sorry for what harm I have caused you.
Okay. Um, we're going to cut here to when you to when you find yourself next to the Iomet River, and you're with Lucent starting to like Lucent is like just piling up wood, and like he's starting to set it up on fire. And you have the painting and the 6 spots of paint to the side, and you can see that Lucent has already started. Like he's starting making a sketch of the original image to make a copy of it later on.
I'm just making sure he's not going to include any brown in that sketch.
He says, I think the Zeppelin would look even better blue. Yeah, blue is a good color. We're gonna go with that.
Or at the very least, a dirt brown as opposed to a mummy brown.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
Um.
But I will put all of the pots in the picture into the fire and
Okay.
save rare.
There. Uh. The ambient light around you, as the sun was slowly setting, suddenly darkens, and you can hear. You know how when you're burning something, sometimes there's like a very high pitched noise as the bubbles of as there's like bubbles of liquid and air that just like that go through very thin cracks.
Yes.
This is not it. This is literally the screams of souls of the damned, and Aziz warns you, and both Aziz and Godric warn you about at the same time that there's ghosts around you. Roll for initiative.
Oh.
uh,
Yeah, you know that thing that you're horrible at? Yeah, roll it. All right, here's Godric. Of course. Look at that. Look at him go.
Okay. This is 10.
And a bonus of 6. Great.
Okay. Oh, that wasn't me who rolled 100. No, who rolled an open roll.
No,
Was
that
it?
Godric.
Okay, of course, Godric is so fast. Okay, I only rolled 104, and
That's mine.
and Aziz has. I'm lagging so much. Sorry. Okay, and Aziz has 150. So Godric is the first to act.
Okay, so do I see any ghosts about?
Godric is able to perceive them thanks to his flowers. There's four ghosts that are coming towards you, and you can see that some of them are attempting to pick stuff up from the fire and move it away from the fire, and others are trying to attack you. I mean, there's two with the fire and 2 that are attacking you.
Okay.
So what is Godric going to do?
Godric is going to try and entangle the 2 that are attacking us.
Okay. He can make an attack roll then with Hell of Thorns. You don't have any penalties for attempting this.
There's his attack.
Okay. Poltergeists. Defense of. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. The ghosts. Basically, what happened? The way the ghosts defend is that it feels like you're fighting smoke, and they move out of the way of Godric's claws, just as Godric is like slashing at them with either his claws or his force. He's trying to immobilize them, right?
Yeah, he's doing the Hell of Thorns.
Okay. Yeah, so that's missed. Okay. Um, all right. Can Godric roll for a? Oh no, it's as his first. Okay. Okay. Wait, where did my attack go? Okay, there it is. Yeah, so as his attack is also dodge, you can see, you can start to see a faint silver light coming from around her.
Okay.
And like she's just trying to punch those creatures without any success so far. It's your turn. What do you do?
Oh, I'm going. Okay, so the fire we built the fire is built in a giant regular fire, right? Not a brazier. Well, you have a brazier, right? We wanted a brazier.
Yeah, you wanted a brazier. Basically, what Lucent found was the ruins of an old temple with a brazier that was still mostly intact, and that's where he put most of the wood and the oil, and that's where you've started burning things.
Okay. So what I want to try to do is, well, I can't. See, I can't control them. They're trying to take stuff out of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean they have
Oh,
to reach into the fire, right?
yes, that is correct.
Is the fire having an
Uh,
effect on them?
it does not seem to be, but do you know about salamanders in this? Have you had a look at the different monsters in the book?
Some, and I know what the principle of the fire salamander is, though I don't know
Uh,
the specific details on these salamanders.
okay. The I think it's a good moment for a flashback then.
Okay.
Um, so your character, you remember coming home. You remember coming home from Stygia, and um, you gave your father all of the star metal that was supposed to create the three weapons, and he got his artisans to start working. After that, he seemed very preoccupied in preparing you for something. He never exactly mentioned what you needed to be prepared for, but he said, but like you could feel that there was an urgency in preparing you. So you learned a bit more about the mystic arts and things like this. And for example, you learned that fire salamanders are really easy to summon, and and they're easy to create as well. Simply, a lot of them were created simply by dumping a bunch of Xeon in a fire, and that's simply how they manifest, or with the summoning skill. And they're spirits of fire that and sparks that live to spread it as much as possible. So like. Um, would you like us to like start a scene of you training with your of you like learning about those things with your father, and then we can like end the flashback and come back to
Sure.
the fight. Okay, so just I'm gonna need to take a small break because I
Okay.
need to head to the other room. I'll call you back in just a second.
Okay.
Thanks, baby.
Excellent. Yeah, I need a break too, so
Hey.
Yeah, I needed a quick break too. I put in a table. I guess you didn't see. I wrote on a table.
Uh, oh yeah, yeah, no, you wrote that you needed to be back. Yeah,
Take a quick break. Be right back. Yeah.
yeah. I
And
saw that. I just like I thought I'd taken so long that like you'd be back, but yeah. My bad. So, yeah, you were fighting a couple of bits. So yeah, one of the things you learned was, if you're unable to summon creatures, if you're it's always possible to create some of them with some tricks. And salamanders are easy to create because all you have to do is just put a lot of raw magic and mix it into a fire, and they will just be birthed out of that.
okay.
That's how most of them are created. And like it's a small bit of lore, but basically, I think your father would have taught that to you as like a quick distraction or a way to create creatures that you can control quickly without and like basically anyone who knows how to control their Xeon a little bit can learn a trick like this.
Okay.
So yeah, like wait, are you recording?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just checking. Um, so yeah, it's not the first like trick and stuff like this that he's been trying to teach you, and it's been like some time since you've returned, and he seems more and more worried, more and more absent minded. So what do you do?
You're saying my father seems more absent-minded?
Yeah, more preoccupied by something.
Oh, okay. Well, Father, I don't wish to pry, but something seems to be keeping you from fully focusing on anything. Is there something I need to know?
Despite our efforts, war is still brewing. Um, I just think you need to be prepared for the every possibility. That's always the same answer. It's always the same answer that he gives you, word for
Uh,
word.
Well, you have certainly been preparing me.
Yes. Tomorrow we'll see how to identify when a creature acts oddly, which could make you understand that it's been controlled by another summoner. But I think the lesson is over for today, and he starts to get up and walk away from you back towards his quarters. But he with his back turned to you, he seems a bit stooped. He seems a bit slower than he uh, used to, as if there's uh, a weight on his shoulder.
I uh, can I tell anything about him at this point with my third eye?
You could um, you could try to engage in a more honest conversation through feelings rather than words with your third eye, but you would need to like you would only be able to get from him what he would be willing to share.
And
Um,
our third eye has to meet, right?
yes.
And he's walking away hunched.
Hmm.
I will trust that he will tell me what he needs to tell me when he needs to tell me.
Perfect. Um, so yeah, that's going to be the end of your flashback, and that's when you return to Stygia.
Okay. So, Xeon into the pot. Do I know approximately how much
You do not. How much do you want to spend?
Only exactly what is needed.
Um, you can roll for a cult to. It's going to be a difficulty of 120 to know precisely the quantity to create a fire salamander. And if you roll less than this, I'm going to give you a quantity that's a bit off.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. So you rolled more than the difficulty. So it takes 50 points of Xeon per fiery salamander that is created in this process.
I'll throw 100 in.
Okay. Um, so yeah, you concentrate and you transfer like this light that you have inside of you, this power that allows you to do the things that you do when you summon, and immediately the fire bursts stronger than ever, and out of it um, come two creatures who look like small dragons with their tails on fire. Um, Honestly, their design is very similar to certain Pokemons when you look at them. But yeah, um, and yeah, they immediately starts to like prance around, and they set fire to like they set fire to the vials that are being taken out of the fire, and then they're going to start moving away from the fire once like everything is ablaze. The ghosts are screaming and moving more frantically. Um, and it's going to be let's see. Oh yeah, it's going to be their turn to attack Godric for the two that are in combat. Actually, one of them is going to attempt to attack Aziz. So roll for defense for Godric, please. Okay. And by the way, this is what the ghosts look like in Anima.
Ah, gotcha. Oh yeah, look Godric go.
Oh, if you got a very high defense, if Godric would normally be able to attack once again, which he isn't because he attacked first, he could get a counter attack bonus. So, for example, right now he could have gotten a plus 55 on his attack because of how well he evaded. Like he put the ghost in a dangerous position, um, and actually that would have been 100 and if not instead of 55 that would have been 65 I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, that's for the next turn. They are their earthly remains are burning away quickly and they're losing in power. Aziz asks, "Should those are the spirits of my ancestors? I don't know uh, if we should be fighting them or if we should let the fire do do its work. What do you think?" And yeah, you can see that she's on the defensive right now.
I like running.
Okay. Roll for athleticism for both Godric and yourself. And the ghosts, do the ghosts have any athleticism? They have the same value that they would have had in life, only at a lesser extent. Since they were guards or thieves who were condemned to undeath, they would only have um, a small value. Right? Go. Oh wait, no, that's acrobatics. Never mind.
Yeah, I'll roll Godric's first.
Okay.
And now mine. Uh,
And okay, the ghosts rolled 35. So basically, yeah, you start to run away along the river, and Lucent is heading in a different direction altogether. And after just like after a short after almost just half a minute of running, the ghosts scream their last and fade into the night. And Aziz turns to you and says, "Well, that's taken care of.
Not quite. I
You,
continue. I'm gonna be trying to control because those I need those fire salamanders to stop
oh
lighting
yeah,
everything on fire.
the two of them have started climbing up a palm tree towards the very flammable leaves. Uh, okay, so do you do anything before you attempt to control?
Yes. Do I have any kind of a bonus since I created them?
You technically would. The fire that you started controlling them with, creating them with, is technically part of their essence. So if you want a part of them, you can. All you have to do is incorporate the go back to where the fire is and incorporate this into your ritual somehow.
Okay.
And
And
you know their type, but you don't know their name. Simply put, they're born just now. If you want to know their name, you're going to need to use your third eye.
well, I
But you
created
can
them,
also
right?
know, yeah.
So I can name them. I'm their creator.
Um, I think for
You can't trick magic like that.
I think beings that are like born spontaneously out of things like this, like if you had magic and you had a spell that allowed you to create creatures, that is a possibility in this game.
Okay.
You would have chosen the name, but simply put, you what you did was like put some magical oil on a fire, and the blaze the like usually when those are created, they're seen as more of an accident than anything. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So I will look at
yeah,
them to try and gather their name while moving back towards the fire.
okay. Okay. Here's the thing, though. When it's going to be hard for you to move towards the fire while looking at them with your third eye, because you need your eyes to be closed to look at something with your third eye.
So I'm going to look at the fire, and now that I've looked at the fire, I know how far away the fire is from me. So I'm looking at them with my
Okay.
eye, and I'm going to take 2 less steps than I believe it would have taken me to get to the fire.
Okay. Um, if you want, you can roll for notice for Godric, and Godric's perceptions, since you share them, could guide you.
Sure.
Uh, it's either that or it's a rule of appraisal to be able to like appraise the distance. But yeah, Godric's perception basically, like when you have your normal eyes closed, you get Godric's advanced sense of smell is still able to guide you in a way where you don't get burned. So you make it to the fire and in 3 turns, and you analyze them. By this point, they've set the palm tree ablaze, and they're like climbing down it, away, like trying to run to the next target. So what do you do?
I'm going to attempt a control roll to control them.
Okay. So you've been concentrating for 3 turns, which means you have a certain bonus or a lack of penalty. They're level 0 creatures.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, my computer is lagging a little bit. Do you see where the summoning tables are in the rules?
There it is.
Yeah, like I managed to make them pop. Okay, so you know the being's true name. so you get a plus 20. You possess a part of it, so you get another plus 20, and you know that they're a fire type creature. So you have a plus 40 to your control. And you spent 3 turns, so you have a minus 20, which means you're currently at plus 20 on your control roll. So I'll let you make your roll while I go and have a look if there is enough of a level difference that you can use max summoning against to control both of them at once. Yeah. Just tell me when you've done your roll.
Okay, I'll do my roll now. And the
Yeah.
modifier was plus 20.
Yes. Okay. So level difference required is 5.
I did the stupid add the.
Yeah, you did the plus plus. It's
Do
okay.
you want me to re-roll it
Yeah, go ahead.
or just use the number that was rolled?
What's my?
It
Hold
doesn't
on.
matter. I
Yeah,
got
I
it.
can.
All right,
I
I'll
can't.
just roll.
Yeah, go ahead.
Plus 20.
And control of a level 0 creature is a difficulty 180.
All right, I got a 333.
Okay, yeah. So you're able to control the first one instantly, like you stop it in its tracks. And based on your skill and how easy that was, you think you don't necessarily need to spend this much time on the ritual for the other one. So how long are you going to spend for the other one?
Well, if I just yeah, I'm just gonna go. If I do it with immediate is minus 100,
Yeah.
so it would give me a plus 150, and it's only a 180 on it, and I have a
You still have you would
plus
still have
20.
the plus 40 from knowing the being's true name and possessing a part of it. So it would actually be just a minus 60 modifier.
Okay,
You
I'll
want to
do
do
that.
that instantly?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Go ahead and roll. Okay, yeah. So even though you're only taking an instant, you seize control over the creature's mind, and it too stops in its tracks. So that only costs you 40 Xeon to control both of them.
Okay.
So yeah, like that's how good a difference in level like that's how much bonus like a difference in level gives you. Your at the, like at the stage your character is at, you can like easily use your powers on very weak creatures. What do you order them to do?
Okay, so what do I know about commanding them to do something that will cause them to die?
That would be giving them a command that goes against their will. And basically, the only thing that this does is they get to try to make you to re-roll the control with the same modifiers. And if you still succeed, they have to follow your orders anyways.
Okay, so these are fire salamanders, and we're right next to the river.
Yeah,
If they enter the river, will
they
that
have a
kill them?
they're spirits of fire and they have a vulnerability to water. That was taught to you by your father. You can order them to do so, and basically just re-roll control with the same modifier as what you did just now. I'm only
Okay.
going to make you do one roll, and if you still succeed, they have no choice but to act, even though that is something that they're doing against their nature.
Okay, and that's minus 60.
Yes.
248.
Perfect. So you created them. Now you can undo them, and you make them jump into the water, ending their brief experience of 20 turns or so. Um, and yeah, I'm happy because like I wanted to try to use this scene to demonstrate like some of the finer mechanics of summoning and stuff like this, and like so that went that went really well. Um, so Lucent returns from his run completely out of breath and saying, it was not made for adventure, but thank you very much, Lutwin, for helping me out of my mistake." And Aziz turns to him and says, "This wasn't your mistake. A ghost made you do it. Lutwin told me." And he turns to you and he says, "But you kept blaming me for it."
Well, didn't you tell me that you took the item?
I uh, I was very confused. I didn't realize I could have been influenced by something.
I
Uh,
think that there's some degree of you involved in the act, and that there is some degree of the ghost involved in the act. I think what really happened was it wanted you to do something that you wanted to do, something that you maybe wouldn't have done, even though you wanted to do it, because you know that you weren't supposed to do it. But it was able to push you over that line because it was something you were already willing to do in the first place. So it made it easy for it to get you to do the act. But ultimately, had it not influenced you, you would not have done the act. The real problem here is if we were to try and explain this logic to the high priest, we would probably all be dead before we got to the point where he had to stop it for a moment and consider that as a possibility. He seems to be, although very loyal and very dedicated, I think he seems to be the kind of person who is over dedicated to a fault, and I don't think it was possible to get him involved. Although I do believe that he would have been able to much easier resolve the situation. I think he would have been looking for a bunch of heads in a basket, and I don't think any of us should lose our. We all have far too pretty heads to end up in a basket. So I think there's much more that we have yet to do before we're ready to stop enjoying our footprints in the sand.
hmm, you're you're right. Well, I'm glad this is resolved. But moving mummies, ghosts, and now small dragons coming out of the fire. This has been a very eventful journey. Um, you seem to be able to see them, right, Lucent?
Yes, because of my abilities to summon and control and bind the supernatural, certain things of the supernatural, I'm aware of them to a degree. Godric is aware of them as well to a degree, and because we have a certain shared sense between us, all of that, when combined together, gives us the ability to detect things that most normal people cannot.
That makes sense. Do you think you could describe your experiences to me so that I could convey them in new types of portraits and paintings? I'll be careful where my paint is coming from this time.
That sounds fair enough.
Okay.
I
Um,
turn to Aziz. As far as your ancestors do you feel like that everything is okay now with them? There's a very good
yes.
point about, do we really want to fight them? They're not trying to hurt us, but they don't. understand that they were being controlled by that other one. So,
It's um, it's all right. I'm gonna have to explain a lot to the Brotherhood and try to get my friends in there to calm the situation in town. But uh, thanks to you, this was resolved a little bit faster. As I'll try to explain it this way. One of the guards that was trapped in the tomb find a way to release itself, and you were simply there to help me catch it. Um, the Brotherhood of Seth thanks you for your efforts defending the border. She like nods her head at you. You feel like that's a phrase that she's said a lot. Like it seems almost automatic that she talks about protecting the border.
gotcha. Well, and thank you very much. Your awareness of the pots and being able to recover the first one and the idea of finding the others was very helpful as well. So thank you for that. It was a team effort.
Um, Lucent says, "So what's our team's name, so I can so I can make a nice ballad about the three of us."
Well,
Four. Sorry, Godric. There's no need to growl at me.
um, I don't know. Would it be inappropriate to name ourselves Three's a Crowd?
Um, no, that makes the both of them laugh, and they're gonna like agree to that name. Um, all right, you you the it's around this time that Lucent says, "Wait, it's nightfall. Oh no, we're missing Lily's special dinner." And he starts to hurry back towards the palace.
I look at Aziz. Last one there is going to be me, and I take off.
You can see that she has some um, that she seems a bit faster and a bit more resilient than most humans for some reason, and yeah, she's able to catch up to you running.
Yeah,
She's on par with Godric when it comes to speed.
gotcha.
Yeah, so you were right. You're the last. You might be the last one to make it to the past, but that's only because Lucent had a head start.
Oh, that's fine.
All right. There's a banquet in honor of the last night that you're spending in Stygia because Sophia, instead of wanting to keep exploring the other ruins that are inside of the desert, has finished transcribing her memories of the tomb and wants to go back to the Lucretio and the expedition here and start a new one centered on going to your original homeland. Um, During the feast, there's like everybody seems to be having fun. Even the priest of death hasn't like cursed anybody. He hasn't. He definitely hasn't acted as how do you say belligerently as Canifer did. Um, and everybody seems to be in a pretty good mood because of the crisis you averted. So, what are you going to do during that time?
During that time, I will just attempt to enjoy the food. You know, does the Pharaoh attend as well?
Yes, the Pharaoh is attending.
Okay. In that case, I will do all of my best to make it all about the Pharaoh. Basically, just trying to turn on my own charm and persuasion to guide the conversation into talks of, and I don't want to do it in a way like that I'm just sucking up, but in a genuine, like, very interested in his history, anything that I, as an outsider, would be allowed and wouldn't be considered irreverent. I would very much
Hmm.
like to know about his lineage, about any of his ancestors who stood out and did some sort of anything of any particular note. Just to learn about them. I'm very interested in other cultures, and you have a very fascinating culture. It's very old and very deep and rich with its history and its flavor. It's very distinct, and I would love to learn as much as is possible about it.
Rule for etiquette. And basically, every difficulty beyond 40 that you pass is going to give you information on another one of the pharaohs that is um, t- 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 that is well known.
Okay, I am going to spend a fatigue on this.
No, it's a
Oh,
physical.
gotcha.
It's not a physical roll, so
Oh, okay, gotcha.
you can't spend fatigue on physical on things that aren't physical. So it's red again, just like last time. Um, I think that's yeah. I think you passed two difficulties, so I'm going to give you some information about two pharaohs. It's none of the ones that you knew in your time as a diva, but you're going to learn about the let's see. There's the one. Okay. You're going to learn about the most well-known period of prosperity of Stygia that started under Pharaoh Atum, and simply put, for some reason, the desert became completely green. The desert became fruitful for a period for a period called the cycle of let's see, where is it, um, Age of Chaos, yeah, okay, and it ended with Pharaoh Shetos. That was a couple of that was just like, and the desert started to gain back on the Greenland with the pharaoh called Shetos, which is one pharaoh, which is the grandfather of the one that you've met as a diva. Okay, hello.
And
Uh,
is it fair to say that Sophia is diligently writing every word down in her records?
yeah, she's
Excellent.
taking note of all of this, and like let's see, you learned that basically these are information back from a period known as the Age of Chaos. The Age of Chaos is basically the period in Anima that is considered to be the start of recorded history. Everything in the Age of most of the things in the Age of Chaos are not have been completely lost to the civilization today. Of course, you have memory coming from the end of the Age of Chaos, and some things are known, like those like the name of those two pharaohs who started and ended the I can't find the name again, but basically it's like it was I think it's a 300-year period during which the desert was green, and nobody seems to have an explanation for this, but the pharaoh is speaks as if this time will return someday.
And is the that high priest Ahioreth? Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
And high priest Ahioreth.
Oh no, the Ahirep is the pharaoh. I never named the like you never learned the pharaoh the priest of death's name.
Oh, okay. So I will turn. He's there, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, so high priest, perhaps that might be a sign of the pleasure of the gods down upon their pharaoh, their god on earth. Maybe that's the reason why the desert became so lush and was able to bear what it was able to bear.
that is utter nonsense. The god. First of all, there is only. Oh no, wait, he wouldn't say that. But first of all, Jihamat has always been pleased with the lineage of pharaohs controlling Stygia. Otherwise, he would have removed the lineage and put another one instead. The um, that period was seen as a blessing, true, but it does not mean that the current pharaoh or any of the ones that came before him were displeased our God in any way.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of ever suggesting something like that either. I just thought perhaps there's some believed explanation for that particular occurrence.
There were a lot of strange things happening back in those days of legend. Uh, it was in a time before the calamity of the deserts. It was a time before the Empire of Abel. So a lo- there we might never know the answer to this.
The calamity of the desert?
You've you've never heard of the largest creature in all of Gaia.
Well, anything I may have heard certainly would not be nearly as accurate as your recounting of it, if you wouldn't
Uh,
mind.
no, of course not. We call it Gurma Garus. It is a worm. It is a worm that is kilometers long and kilometers wide, and it sleeps in the desert um, for millennia, and every now and then it wakes uh, and destroys anything it finds in the desert, provoking earthquakes with every movement, and and devouring sources of water all around it before going back to its eternal sleep. And it's only by the will of the Hamat and the Pharaoh that it can return to sleep. It's it is an incarnation of the wrath of God, and every couple of millennia, or every couple of hundreds of years, it reminds us why we must fear him.
I see. Is Has this creature always surfaced every few hundred years, or was there
So
first?
just give me 1 second. No, it's okay. It's been 2,000 years since it started appearing around here, and where does it say how long it sleeps? It
I
does not.
I'm
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
mainly trying to make him the center of attention,
Hmm.
to maybe impress the pharaoh with his ability to be able to answer questions and interact with these strangers. You know what I mean? But I'm
Oh,
not doing it to butter him up. I'm doing it to genuinely increase the reaction, or the whatever the feelings are between us. So I'm trying to, you know.
By making him look like he has a positive conversation with you, you're trying to make it look like there's a positive relationship between your two religions. I understand
Yes,
what you're
yes.
doing. Okay. Then that's really good. Like you do feel like at the end of that dinner that you've what's it called, that you have reached a new yeah, that you've like bridged the gap between a little bit between the way that this country sees your like between at least the higher ups in this country see your religion and like the problems that were there when you arrived. So when you
Yeah, yeah. Because
do
what I'm well,
mhm.
because basically I want I want them to come to see that I may I may have a different religion, but I don't disrespect theirs. I don't look at theirs as less than mine. I look at theirs as a different religion. I don't know much about it, and they know a lot about it. So, and I'm very curious to learn more about it in a respectful way, not in a like, oh yeah, you believe that? How cute, which is probably how
Mhm.
they think we believe. We probably think that our religion is so much better and theirs is some stupid, but I'm trying to change their whole outlook on how we view it. We do view it with respect.
That is the way some inquisitors and a lot of Christians in this setting act as well. So I love how much you're like trying to like fix everything with your character, and when we're gonna do the other campaign and your inquisitors are going to come to Stygia, you're just going to ruin everything all over again.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, I realized I haven't been like moving you, like showing other parts of the setting, the town or anything. But anyways, these are what some of the streets in the capital look like. Anyways, yeah. Do you do anything else during that feast? There are, like there are a couple of merchants who have bought their, who've paid a certain price to be allowed at the pharaoh's banquet. And they all seem to be having like a really good time talking how much the zeppelin is going to boost the commerce in the region and stuff like this. And also like there in the background is there's a moment when hero falls to his knees and screams in agony, and you see that Lucent is next to him and showing him the sketch of the new and he has in his hand the sketch of the new painting, um, and yeah, he's been very dramatic.
But that's sort of what Hero does. He
Yeah.
kicks ass and gets very melodramatic.
Um, so, is there anything else you do that night?
Again, just my whole intention is to try and make sure that everybody is having a good time. Especially the Pharaoh, the merchants. I really do want to get the merchants involved. I'm going to try and draw them into conversations. And talk about looking forward to increasing our opportunities for trade back and forth, and our relationships with your country. Uh, and it's going to be at first difficult. There's different rules that we're going to have to follow, and of course, I look at the high priest also. We need to be very careful. We want to make sure we don't create any offenses. That's not our intention. I think you muted out. Did you intentionally mute?
Yeah, that was intentional. There was a bit
Oh,
of noise in the background. I
gotcha.
was just attending to that.
Okay.
But yeah, I got everything you said. Yeah. So you there isn't exactly a socialized role in this game, but I think with the etiquette rule that you made, like you reach your goals. You
Okay.
contribute a lot to the good mood. Lucent also comes in and has written a ballad about what happened inside of the tomb, where he like you've heard the version that he's written for the Lucretio. This is the culturally respectful thing that like where you don't say we kicked where Lucent doesn't say we kicked the asses of those guards in there in but like instead is like more he yeah um, it's like it's a shorter version of the song basically. Um, okay, I think you go to sleep that night rather satisfied with your trip to Stygia, and in the morning you make your way back through the city towards the observatory, um, and where towards the observatory tower, where the Zeppelin is still latched onto, and you make your way back on board. Is there anything that you want to do before you leave?
I just want to make a point of uh, thanking everybody, including Aziz, for uh, guiding us through the temple and an opportunity to work with her, and look forward perhaps to seeing her again.
Perfect. Um, you have a way of making things ironic in advance for things that I have planned in the future.
I'm trying to tell her that in a way that, while perhaps it may be the slightest little bit flirty,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not trying to do it like I'm actually like my ultimate goal would be for her to know that I find her interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to go to that point where I say, "Hey, let's go get a drink sometime," if you will. Like, I'm not trying to look to go there. I'm just looking
Mm-hmm.
to plant the seed of, I've enjoyed your company.
Okay. All right. I think I think you managed to do this properly, and if you ever come back to that country, that something like this can like yeah, it can develop in a new direction. So you make your way back onto the Zeppelin, and the Zeppelin starts to depart. You have a free choice of where you can sit in the two. There's like two. Um, uh, the Zeppelin is divided between sort of like two different compartments that are linked by what are they called? Passrails, boardwalks in English.
Okay.
That's the word between them. And usually, when it's transporting only people, it has first class on the one wing and second class on the other wing. But currently, it has the entire expedition on one side and cargo from different merchants who are hoping to sell their wares in Lucretia in the other wing. Who do you sit next to?
Lily, if possible.
Okay. Yeah, you sit down next to her, and um, yeah, she's looking. She spends a lot of time looking at the desert of Stygia and wondering where the border is, because it's not visible from above, where Stygia ends and the Kushistan begins, the other nation that has a majority of Al-Inef, uh, of the religion Al-Inef inside of it. Um, yeah, like, uh, uh, how do you know when you've stopped being in a country? That seems to be the focus of her attention at the moment.
Well, I think if you hold a part of that country in your heart, you never really stop being there.
Hmm.
But perhaps,
That's that would cause some problems with immigration, wouldn't it?
I suppose if you're talking about physical borders, well, maybe there might be a cause now for placing a landmark somewhere along the Zeppelin route, and that would help to indicate the point when we cross over into their realm.
Um, when you look at a map, like the parts of the river and the mountains at the edge serve as a limit, but there's a small stretch of desert land that remains unchanged from when it's inside of Stygia and when it's inside of Kushistan. But as you're there, I'm going to ask that Lutwin make a notice check because you're on the Zeppelin, and I just can't have a Zeppelin with a player just fly everywhere without any complications.
Complications? What are
The
those?
complications. The life of the story. That's what they are.
86.
All right. So you see something white coming from behind you. Something white coming from Stygia, coming from possibly like in the direction of the capital Al Qair, and it's growing larger the closer it gets. And at first, it looks like a bird, but it has four appendages on top of the wings. And then you seem and then you start to see a human face at the center of all of those white feathers. And at which point do you do anything? When like the more you see of this, what is your character's reaction?
Well, I wonder if that's going to turn out good or not. I point at it.
Um, okay. To whom?
I loud enough for everybody to hear it.
Okay. Yeah. Gazes starts to turn towards the thing, and um, and this is what it looks like. Uh, I guess the image is a little bit small on the character sheets, but yeah, it's a sphinx, and you see the like it has an eye a giant eye right under its face, and another eye like and towards the bottom of its wing, and both of the all three of those eyes start to shine brightly with a blue light, and then a laser comes out of it and strikes the metal armor that is around the zeppelin, grazing it and grazing it above your window, and you see droplets of molten metal falling um, in front of your passenger's window. What do you do?
Looking at it with my third eye.
Okay. Yeah, you start to get to gaze at it. So and it takes you 9 seconds to do it. Its name is Ara L, and it's the spirit of Enigma. That's like that's what its essence is. Um, so you know its name and what type of creature it is. What do you do now?
I'm going to type that name into the chat so I remember it. What was it? R.
Arael. Arael.
Oh boy. Can I tell whether it's something I can
Yeah,
control? I
you
could.
You definitely could, but you remember, but roll for occult real quick.
Here we go. 124.
124. Okay, so you know that it's a creature that is a bit stronger than the ones you've managed to control before. So the difficulty might be a little bit higher.
Can I begin my preparing while actually communicating with it? Or
Um,
trying to, anyway?
yes, you can start the ritual from like any distance as long as you see it. As far as communication go, it doesn't it can't interact with your third eye in any way. So you're gonna need to go on one of the boardwalks. Boardwalks.
Yeah.
The metal boardwalks that actually like let you be on the side of the zeppelin
Okay.
if you want to talk.
Gang,
There's
gang,
like
a gangplank?
yes,
Gangplank?
that's what I meant. Again, that's what I meant.
Yeah, well, I guess unless anybody else is taking any sort of an action to know what to do or ideas.
Um, I think a lot of people are panicking, and Hero like um, basically like opens one of the doors to that should lead to like the exit if you were latched onto something, and instead starts to like climb to the side of the zeppelin, and yeah, the Godric comes with you to the outside of the plank, and you see the creature is getting close enough to you to attack, and you can see that its eyes are its three eyes that shot lasers are still brimming with energy. What do you do as it flies like along the side of the zeppelin as if observing its prey?
I will call out its name. Ariel.
It flies around and comes back towards you, and it says, "You know my name. You're a strange enigma, aren't you?"
Not nearly as strange as Enigma as you are.
All right. Riddle me this. I unwillingly give you a sock, not unlike a box, full of bells and stars all around it. What did I give you?
I heard you, I'm thinking.
Yeah. And um uh, and then it's like it's after a couple of seconds it asks, "Do you want a hint?"
Would you like to give me a hint?
Answer my question first.
I don't know the answer to your question. That's why I need the hint.
Okay, roll for dodge.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. That's not right. Yeah, that's right. All right.
So, but we
So
are in agreement that the first question that he asked was, "What am I?
no, it says, "What did I give you?"
What did I
I
give
I
you?"
miss I mispronounced.
Oh,
Basically,
okay.
it like the okay. So real quick, that and
I
uh,
was presuming the riddle was his first question. That was my assumption.
Okay. Real quick, the riddle was no. Oh, open will. Nice. Don't worry. It's not gonna kill you immediately. The riddle was I unwillingly give you a sock, not unlike a box, uh, um, full of bells and stars all around it. What did I give you? That's the
You
riddle.
hit me.
Um, you mean with my attack?
No, the answer to your riddle. I
Okay.
say,
Uh,
I say you hit me.
yeah, and like I think that happens just as it finishes
Okay.
its attack. And basically, what happens is that like it shook one of its wings and it projected um, feathers that just start that sink into your flesh, and they hurt a lot, but they don't cause any damage. But so let's see.
But they daze me and I'm seeing stars.
No, but you do have the stars and bells turning around your head.
Yeah.
Did you ever play? I think it's Morrowind that this riddle comes from. If
No.
okay, then that was some really good riddle solving. It took me a while to solve this one. So the rain of feathers is 60 damage. 60 times 200%. That's going to be 120. That's going to be, I think, 6 feathers. So you have 5 feathers that are planted into you, and one hits Godric instead of you.
Okay.
And you can see that, and basically you feel as if like the feathers aren't activated for you, but they activate for Godric, and you can see that the sap inside of its body starts to be drained away by the feather
I
that
pull it out.
slowly like okay. Um, uh, t- 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 okay. Each feather, blah blah blah. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, it requires an active action, and it causes Godric to lose 15 life points when you pull out the feather, and it screams um, in agony. And the Sphinx says, "Now, what about my riddle? What was the word in my riddle that's important?" And it starts to swoop upwards. What do you do?
I answered your riddle.
You did, and like now it's flying upwards towards the top of the zeppelin. It's because of the strong winds of the altitude where you're at. You're out of his earshot.
Okay.
So the riddle was I unwillingly give you a sock, not unlike a box, full of bells and stars all around it. What did I give you?
Right. And the answer was you hit me. You socked me.
Okay. And what was the important word about
Unwillingly.
it? What do you do now?
I pull one of the feathers out of me.
Okay. That does 15 damage, 15 points of damage.
You're cheating now. I answered your riddle and I answered your second question properly. That means I should have been allowed to either remove a feather or ask you a question, and you're cheating.
It would appear that it is. And I think now is a good moment for you to have a flashback uh, to your father's other lesson, the one that we had talked about earlier.
Okay.
All right. So you are in the courtyard of um, your family home. Your father was a is a noble. What does this look like? The society of divas is supposed to be built entirely on logic. So they have this they value logic a lot like Vulcans do in Star Trek. But so what would you think the architecture would look like in a noble's house?
I think
Very
that
solid.
our in our house would be our family, and families do sometimes have that tendency to be of a general height, either taller or shorter or average. So I would imagine that what it looks like is all of the pictures are hung at precisely the average eye level of all of our family members. The chairs are all specifically designed for our particular height. If we have maybe some people have shorter legs, longer torsos, etc. So all the chairs would be very designed. There would be an efficient design to combine comfort while remaining upright, and not just comfort to relax, but comfort while sitting there to do, say, eating and all of that. They would probably all be exactly the same because there's that one perfect spot thing where you found. All of our railings would be the same. All of the rooms would literally look like designed like a grid, so it would be very
Mm.
easy to find where anything is. Um, there would be a system. It could either be like all of the utensils would either be set up either alphabetically or by size, or most likely by frequency of use. Um, and if we are predominantly right-handed, then on the right-hand side would be most likely where the most commonly used item would be. And everything, all the spices would be set up with the most used ones easy to reach, with the least used ones in the back. And
All right. So, okay, yeah, I really like this, and I think the courtyard where you're training has a similar setup where basically there's like a list of scrolls and books that you have to memorize before you can move on to the next one. And right now, your father is picking up one that talks about um, it's called The Art of Fratricide, and he tells you this book talks about methods of killing other divas. It's not a book uh, that is accessible to most people, and we wouldn't even be able to lay eyes upon it if the both of us weren't nobles. But I procured it because if there's to be a war, there might be a war against other divas. This will teach you to fight against other summoners.
I see.
Uh, Summoned creatures, when they are unwilling to do what they've been ordered, they can circumvent uh, their orders in many different ways. When a creature could attack, but not at its full potential, giving its prey the victim, giving its prey the occasion to flee if it doesn't wish to kill it, for example. And if you're fighting against another summoner, what you have to do is you have to be careful. If it's a bound creature, you won't be able to take control of it. But if it's only being controlled, then it might be possible for you to take control of it. But you will need to beat the other summoner's power. Um, and you cannot take control of arcanas, incarnations, and things like this. It's only for creatures. So like he hands you the book and you start the lesson, but the lesson is unfortunately interrupted when like the doors to the courtyard burst open, and out of one of the many symmetrical rooms in your house enter uh, about 10 divas, 9 of which are wearing armor, and one of which is wearing this sort of like elegant golden um, garb that places him as one of the servants of the royal family. What do you do?
I do whatever my knowledge of etiquette indicates is proper to do when somebody of this station enters my presence.
They arrived unannounced. There's no protocol for this.
And does
And
being in my own home also afford me a certain additional degree of consideration rather than just
No, no, normally it would, but instead of greeting you with words, nine of them are greeting you with unsheathed weapons.
Am I there by myself, or is my
No,
father?
your father is there too.
Well, then it's his place to initiate this interaction on our behalf.
He gets up and he says, "I'm the one responsible. My son was not aware of the plan at all, and the person wearing a golden tunic tells your father you are under arrest for providing free people for attempting to provide the free factions in this of our country with weapons that could destroy the other two. And your father turns to you and says, "I lied. I never meant to have all three weapons together to and like he's transmitting this to you very fast. You're communicating through your eyes.
Okay.
Do you let him like transmit this information to you?
Yes.
Okay. He transmits you a memory of him talking in front of a mirror, but he's addressing you. He's calling you um, by your name, Inish, and he tells you, um, I sent you there. I sent you to Stygia to get the stone the star metal, not because I wanted to give either the war faction or the peaceful faction the means to reach their ends, but because I wanted peace at any cost, and any cost is giving each faction a weapon that could annihilate the other two if one of them made a move. I guaranteed peace. I guaranteed that anything else would bring destruction to our people. I'm sorry I lied to you, but I had to keep this a secret. And if you're seeing this memory, it means I have been captured, or I am being captured, or about to. I hope you can forgive me.
Um, I send. So okay. So the royal family. Do we call them king? Is that our
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
king? Okay. And so we are. This is the king who is the king of the area in which we are nobles.
Yeah, but the person that's present here is only a representative of the king.
I understand that, but I mean, to that king, we are nobles, but we are
Subjects.
still
Yeah.
subjects under him.
Yeah.
So according to the legality of it, my father is telling me that he has knowingly violated an edict from the king. Is that what I'm? Am I
Um,
misreading that,
it's
or?
there isn't exactly a law against providing different political factions with weapons that could destroy the country, but it's implied that risking to destroy the country is sort of treason.
I will basically just send back to him. Should I openly show disgust? Like this communication can't be picked up by anybody else that we
No,
unless.
it cannot.
Should I show open disgust at your actions? I'm asking him.
He says, and stay free, and if you can, try to keep my project going because it's the best way to ensure our people never destroy the world. We have so much power thanks to our summoning. We can't go to war with the other species.
Know I love you no matter what happens.
I know, and he closes his third eye as the guards like move to arrest him.
I turn my back to him and stand there.
Um, the 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 representative comes towards you and he says, "Open your eye to me. I want to. If you can, if your emotions are true and you did not know about this plan, you could still bring honor back to your family. But otherwise, I have to take you with me."
And he'll only be able to tell what I let him know.
Yes, yeah, it's only what you're transmitting. But if you send the emotion that you didn't know about this until your dad was arrested, you wouldn't be lying. He would
Right.
feel the truthfulness of that emotion.
Right. I just want to make sure he won't actually be able to pick up on that last conversation that we had.
Yeah,
I
he
yes.
wouldn't.
I turn, I look directly into his eye and tell him, before you arrived in my courtyard, I had no knowledge of my father's plan. I was told, and I elaborate what I was given to believe was the purpose.
Um, so you he nods. He turns around and you're and orders the guards to finish taking your father away. Um, and as he's being dragged away from your away from this place, away from your from the house that is his, he turns around one last time and he tells you, uh, I gave the weapons, although they might not be finished yet, to people of safety, but and to ensure that they couldn't be found by the other faction. The only problem is the only person from the peaceful faction that I know is absolutely safe from our people is kept is outside of this land. I send it to the princess, but she might still. But since she went with you, she could be targeted.
He sent me this through his third eye
Yeah,
again.
all of the yeah. I didn't specify. You should have. My bad.
Gotcha. I understand.
Okay. And
I turn to the
and
representative of the noble family.
okay.
Is he to receive a trial before you execute him?
He will. Do not worry. He will be judged according to the logic of our laws, and his judgment will be fair. But yes, he will receive a trial.
Before you execute him.
It's not certain what the sentence will be just yet, but the king is very angry.
I look at him like, you may think I'm a child. I'm quite well aware that the trial is a formality before the execution. And I'm not saying that. I just want to try to transmit that to him essentially and look like, you know, right. Like, yeah, right. You're
Okay, so here's the thing: like transmitting things with a look doesn't mean the same thing for humans as for divas because of the third eye communication. But yeah, like
right.
I get what you're meaning. Um, and I think that's where the fire attack ends, and you're back on top of the zeppelin that is slowly losing altitude ever since you took a hit from that eye laser, and yeah, you're slowly crashing, but not. But you feel like if the Sphinx had attacked you head on, the zeppelin might be crashed already, and since like none of the feathers are draining your blood, you could be dead too. But you're not for some reason.
So I took how many points of damage? 1-5 or 5-0?
One
15?
five,
1-5. Okay.
15. Yeah, for taking out one of the five feathers planted into you.
All right.
What do you do now?
I Well, he hasn't asked me another question. He's flying around, so
He asked you what was the important word. That's it, and he
and I
hasn't.
and I said unwilling.
Yeah, but like basically, like he flew off before you gave your answer, and now is like flying around the zeppelin. And from above you, you can hear the sound of more feathers planting themselves against the top of the zeppelin, and Hero's elated shouts uh, of fighting, and he's like, "This is so epic!" And yeah, you don't see what he's doing from above the zeppelin from where you are, but there's weird sounds coming from up there.
Gotcha.
What do you do?
So I'm looking. I was hoping that I would find a handout with the riddle placed on it.
Oh, I put it in the in Ariel's description, but it's not visible to you just yet. I'm trying to edit it, but the computer is lagging for some reason. Sorry. Um, yeah, but like there's a good chance that you're right with the unwilling parts. What are you uh, going to do with that information?
I don't know. I'm going to default to some sort of maybe an intelligence or something to come to me because I
Mm-hmm.
don't. Nothing is standing out as to
Gotcha.
what that significance may be.
Okay. Um, I'll let you make a pure intelligence check. If you roll higher than 10, then it's a success. That is a 3 plus 9. That's 12. Yeah, it's a success. So like basically it could have damaged the Zeppelin pretty bad. It could have crashed you much sooner, and it could have started draining your blood. It's following orders to attack both you and the Zeppelin, but it's trying to follow them as little as possible. And when you called out its name, it understood you were you might be able to control it and free it from the control that he's in currently. Here's the thing: whenever somebody's controlling a creature, they can only give orders that do not go against this creature's survival or that do not go against this creature's nature. So a sphinx, for example, you couldn't order it not to do riddles, and it managed to communicate all of this to you through the riddles. And if it had been ordered not to do this, it would have had another shot at resisting control. So you understand that there's a summoner behind the Sphinx.
All right. So how long have I been building the control?
As of right now, I think it's been a hot minute. Um,
I see, because desert and hot.
I didn't do that on purpose, actually. I think a minute gives you a bonus. It's loading. Yeah, a minute gives you a plus 10 to your roll, and you have a piece of the creature and its name.
All right. So we're going to make an attempt to fight the control that it's under.
Okay. You need to roll for control yourself, and now is the moment when I reveal that I am not a nice GM, and despite the fact that you're level 4, I'm making you face off against a level 7 creature. So the difficulty for control is 320, but you have um, plus 40 from having both a piece of it with the feather, its name, and a plus 10 for it's been a minute since you started your ritual.
Okay. So my total bonus is
50.
50. Okay. So we'll make a control roll.
Okay.
There we go. 50.
Oh, you pass. I had calculated that that you had like about a 40% chance of failing this test, but you managed to take control of the Sphinx, wrenching its control away from its previous master, and it immediately stops attacking Hero, and it moves back towards where you are. Um, uh,
I yell out to Hero, "Stop! You've defeated it!"
and Hero says, "Victory is mine!" But of course, it only saw the Sphinx just like lowering itself under
Right.
the Zeppelin. What do you do now?
I would like to know if it would be against your nature to allow me or for you to remove these feathers from being implanted in my person.
Um, I could do that. And it extends his hand, its giant claw, and like it's flying very precisely. Like it's able to like stay in like in sync with the falling zeppelin, and it removes the feathers without causing you more damage. Technically, it's supposed to, but he has control over whether or not it drains your blood, so it makes sense that he would have control over removing the feathers. Um, and it gives you like a simple smile, uh, um, like a satisfied smile of everything went according to my plan. What do you do?
Well, it looks to me like you seem to be pleased that things are going according to your plan. And let's see if we can make things continue to go according to your plan. Somebody before I did, and I do apologize for doing that to you, somebody controlled you and made you come here and take action against us. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. It was a Stygian wearing a mask, the mask of a of a long forgotten god. I believe his name was Seth.
I see. And could you detect a certain necromantic kind of power coming from him?
I could not. I could only feel that it controlled me, and that person he made sure to have me tell you as the last thing you heard before you crashed that the Brotherhood of Set sent me.
Really? And you're sure it was a
Yes,
male who told you this?
it was.
Hmm.
At least the voice was deep, like a lot of them.
So, did he summon you and then control you, or did he know where you were and come to you to control you?
He summoned and controlled me.
Could you tell how easily he was able to control you?
Um, it would. I had heard him calling my name to him for for days before he finished his ritual, and I thought I was ready for him, but he was talented. But
I
not as
see.
talented as you. You did
Really?
some quick you did some quick thinking, and you did some and with the elements I gave you, you turned the situation around. You're smarter than most humans.
Thank you. You are certainly the smartest Sphinx I have ever met.
You jest.
No, completely serious. I have never met a more magnificent or intelligent Sphinx before in my entire life.
I say you jest because it's clear that you haven't met any other. We're almost all extinct, and I would have heard of one like you.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're all but extinct. Nevertheless, my statement is true.
Nevertheless, it is. Now,
So, yes. Now,
will will you release me or take the risk that one of your commands might break your control over me and I might turn against you?
I believe that we should continue conversing and that I will not be breaking those. And I will, however, give you my word that if at the very least you agree that we are no longer going to engage in fighting amongst each other, I will absolutely release my control over you. I do not wish to make you do anything you do not wish to do. But
I wish. Hmm, go ahead.
perhaps you would like to go back and have another conversation with the one who did summon you and bind you.
I would. It would be my pleasure to test his wits in a game of survival, if I can find him again.
If I keep control of you, that means that it will be more difficult for him to regain control because you will already be controlled by me. So, do you believe that it would be in your best interest for me to give you a command that would allow you to exact whatever you wish to exact upon him, and that you should be released when you have felt satisfied in your desires to do just that?
Truly, truly, you're one of the more interesting humans I've met so far. Not a lot relinquish their power once they have it, but I think that is satisfactory, and I would not seek revenge out on you, thanks to your interesting phrasing.
Now our ship seems to be in some
Yeah.
distress here.
Like the entire time, Godric is next to you, clawing into the metal that you're standing on because the ship is like shaking and slowly going down.
See, I told you, I told you, I told you it's gonna. No, you didn't believe me. I knew it was a bad idea. I knew it. I told you. Um, would you be agreeable to assisting us in any possible way that you could in this regard?
uh, I could assist in saving some of your lives, but staying with you and helping. It's not it's not in the nature of a spirit of riddles and punishment for bad answers like I am.
Oh no, no, I understand, but I didn't mean like stay with us like till we get home. I meant just to minimize the catastrophe of the imminent crash.
He starts to fly upwards, and you can feel a jolt in the zeppelin as it starts to like decrease the speed at which you're falling. You also see him flying next to where there has been destroyed part of the zeppelin and just throwing feathers at it for a couple of minutes with his feathers just keep that keep regrowing on him. And after a couple of minutes, the zeppelin is stabilized once again, and it starts to head off towards Stygia.
I look
Do you do anything?
forward. No, I'm guessing. So we talked about the command, but I never actually issued the command, right?
You did not.
Okay. I look forward to meeting you again. As we discussed, please feel free to consider yourself released when you have accomplished the task your heart desires.
Yeah, I think your voice carries your voice over. the wind carries your voice over, and if there's an answer, it's drowned by the wind, though.
Okay.
So you um, yeah, you make you return inside of like the compartment with their passengers to seeing everybody applauding Hero, who's like bowing and raising his hand high above his head.
I joined the applause.
Okay. This is really perfect because thanks to this character, you're able to like stay in the shadow a little bit more and like not reveal everything that your character is like doing. Can we take a short break and I'll return in a moment.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It's gonna end a bit later than that because I took a couple of breaks. Okay. Wait. And I am back. And you are not. Hello? Are you here?
I am back also.
Okay. Perfect. The recording is still on?
Yes. I leave it on because if I stop it, I don't know how to pause it. I can stop it and restart it, but then it makes two files.
I'm okay with it making two files. It's just like it's just a bit easier to edit afterwards, but like it's fine. I'll find the breaks and just edit them out.
Okay.
So the only person who the only two people who seem to notice you coming back are Sophia and Lily. Sophia does say like calming down the applause towards Hero. She mentions this thing was targeting. I think this thing might have been targeting us specifically, or one of us on board specifically, and came from Stygia. So maybe maybe we didn't leave as good as an impression behind as we thought we did. And like there's a bit of a silence until Hero says, "Bad impression? I didn't get that feeling at all."
I look at Sophia and say, maybe we'll have another one of those talks when we have a chance.
She nods and she's going to point towards the control room. Um, and like you make your way there, and you Sophia simply tells the two pilots to take a break because they've been through a lot, and she takes control of the ship and says, "What? So what did you find out?"
All right, well, first, before we leave, I just want to look over at Lily and make sure to ask her, are you all right?
Yes, the cabin shook a lot, and I fell a couple of times, but nothing. But at least we didn't crash, all thanks to Hero.
So I've heard.
Um, and
Right.
yeah, she also says thank you just before you leave to where Sophia is.
I just smile and nod and go with Sophia.
All
So,
right.
yes, it was ordered specifically to attack not only the Zeppelin, but me directly.
Mm. So you left someone with a grudge despite your best efforts. Huh?
Yes.
Mhm.
But I think the Sphinx was going back to take care of him.
That's good. So, what? Who are our suspects then?
I don't know that I can tell you that at this point.
All right, but you have to understand this. An attack like this on a zeppelin that's meant to use commerce to bridge the gap between countries that are on the brink of war, it could be seen as an act of war. And when people learn about this, it's going to give the church another reason uh, to just to pile up weapons and prepare for war.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about that.
What do you mean?
Well, I will be able to discuss it privately with individuals in the church. Just at this time, I cannot discuss it with you. Um,
Mm.
not because you are you, but because you are anyone other than certain individuals within the church.
You're not a, I'm not a saint or an inquisitor, I understand,
Precisely.
or a cardinal that stands above them, but still, I think you're misunderstanding what I meant. The people who are on board are going to mention this, and it doesn't matter what the church as an organization does. What matters is whether or not the people of Argos and the Main want to go to war, and the Dominion. It's called the Dominion in English. And when they learn about this attack, the people will want war even more.
But
That's what I'm
what will
saying.
the people know about this attack?
Uh, well, she pauses. She says, If the people on board mentioned that that it was a supernatural creature, many people might not believe it, but some Christians might, and think that it came from. I think that it might have come from Stygia, right?
Well, yes. Stygia is a very large country that has supernatural creatures in it in the same way that we come from a very large area that has supernatural creatures in it. But that
Pe-
doesn't mean that the church is the people who are responsible for having these supernatural creatures who might attack people. It just happens to be that in this area, there are also, in addition to the government and the church and the state, we also have supernatural creatures. This was a supernatural creature. This supernatural creature came and attacked the ship, and Hero fought it off, and then it flew away.
No, but you don't understand the minds of people who want war does not make a difference between the factions in a country against which it wants war. Any source of danger for the citizens of Lucretio or of members of the Able Empire would be seen, or of the church would be seen as a threat against all of the others, no matter if it comes from the government or if it was a creature or a creature like this. I've known the Empire to invade countries for less of a supernatural threat. But that was back in its beginning. Things might have changed since. I'm just telling you, it's
No, I'm completely aware of that. I'm just wondering what it is you I'm getting the impression that you feel that if I tell you what I am reluctant to tell you about what I know, then somehow that's going to change.
no. I don't think it's going to change. I just think this situation is I just feel bad because our expedition has somehow made the situation might make the situation between Christianity and the LNF worse.
Well, I understand, the difficulty when religious people engage in anything at all with people of a different religion. We are notoriously very poor at being friendly and tolerant of people who believe something other than what we believe. That's just the nature of our species, is it not?
It is.
So I think that when I get back, I'm going to need to have a couple of conversations, and I'm sure I won't get very far down that gangplank before I'm approached by a number of people who have a need to immediately have a private conversation with me. So, and to those people, I will be able to tell what has happened so that they will be aware of it and already begin to decide how they want to handle the upcoming outrage, should there be one, based on what might be discovered by the general populace about us being attacked by a random creature flying through the sky.
Do you want us to stop in? Do you want us to head to drop you off at the? We could drop you off at the edge of the Argos if you need to travel there to or the domain to talk to members of your church.
Yeah, yes, Godric, I understand that that would be a great idea for us to get on the ground as soon as possible. Just hold on. Yeah, that would probably be a good idea for me to be able
Um,
to.
So like she turns the wheel, she's starting to move the zeppelin, and then she tells you, tell everyone that we're stopping within the Rates mountain range to do some repairs. I'm gonna try to find a nice place to land this thing and hope that oh, and tell the pilots to get back in here. They're better at this.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I thought you might have other questions though.
Um. There's a pause, and she asks, "Did you find anything of historical value, or anything you think I should know?"
I did, and I found out a little bit more about the former occupants of the land to the east of them,
Stygia.
of Stygia. Uh, but we're definitely going to need to stop back in Stygia, and I think I may need to figure out a way to, like that ball. I think that that ball that was floating over the tomb. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me change my description of what it was real quick. I think I mentioned it was a device or a crystal or something. I'm going to change the description of what it was to fit the universe a little bit more. It was a horn, like the types of horns that you blow into, made mostly out of star metal.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So
Um,
that horn, I think I may understand a little bit more about it. Uh, mm, yeah. Like so the princess who stayed there married the pharaoh, whose tomb we were in there at the time. She had a weapon. That weapon came from the people that were to the east in what is it called again? Bayer,
Baho.
Bajo, the inhabitants of Bajo. Um, and so I think I will understand more as I have more opportunities to remember or to have those visions that I have. So, but yeah, there's definitely more to it, and I definitely do want to go to Bajo and definitely check that out when you can get that other exhibition set up.
Exp-
But I do need to
uh,
stop back in Stygia though, because there's probably some people I need to talk to.
I don't know if I could get the expedition to stop there, but I'm going to start preparing the next expedition, and we'll wait for you to come back from the Dominion.
Very well.
Okay. Um, yeah, and basically, like, you agree to have the rest of this talk when you return from the Dominion. Um, if you have nothing else to say to the crew, which you might have, we can jump to a couple of to a few weeks later once you've traveled to Albidion, the capital of the Christian faith, the capital of the Dominion, which is where most of the cardinals and archbishop, I think, are resides. Let me have a look at least like all of the like higher members of the clergy or something. I just need to find the explanation for um, who is the highest ranking person in the church. Technically, the emperor is, but they've separated themselves from the. Yeah, it's the supreme archbishop who's the leader of your organization. Ever since there's been a split between the Azure Alliance and the Able Empire, and it's unclear who is going to be the next emperor. Whether it's going to be the leader of the Azure Alliance or the leader of the uh, um, Able Empire, and whoever it is, the Supreme Archbishop will officially recognize then as, but until now, like the Supreme Archbishop does not recognize any authority coming from either faction.
I don't see Albedion on the map
Oh,
anywhere.
it's right here. You see the island called Narcissus Island?
Is it way to the west? Oh, down there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Basically, like you get dropped off towards where the Ritz mountain, where the Ritz Ward and the Ritz mountain range is, and then you travel your way to the Narcissus Island and to Albania.
Okay. Yeah, I see it now. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was going to be something large and standing out, but
All
it
right.
doesn't. If it's a
Uh,
capital, I figured it would be.
yeah. I mean, like that's the reason that the dot is circled. All of the capitals, like Turmes, Ilion. Yeah, the majors, the bigger cities are circled,
Yeah.
and I think the capitals have a cross next to them. Alf does, Karja does, Ilion does, and Albion do,
Gotcha.
and
No.
so does
Well, no, I
Archangel.
just thought that if it was the actual head of all of it, that it would have a larger, like a giant star or something to make it really stand out. Because I was scouring. First, I didn't even know it was on an island there. I'm looking on the
Mhm.
mainland, but I'm looking, and it's like, yeah, I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, like basically the map doesn't specify like this capital is like or source of commerce or the center of the faith or something like this. It just says it's the capital of this
Gotcha.
uh,
Okay.
principality of the empire.
Yeah, I'll just
So,
I send the pilots back in and tell them, we're gonna pull over and make a stop somewhere for some repairs before we continue on our way.
okay. Yeah, they like both of them have this have this expression of like can't wait to get off the air, but also we're gonna have to land. Time to review all that training that we went through. Um, so yeah, they head off to do that. Uh,
By the way, when do I feel my control break?
So basically, I think the Sphinx has a 40 or 30% chance of breaking it every single day, or every single time that you issue a command that goes against its nature or its survival. So every single day, so it's going to break like eventually. And I don't remember if you're able to send orders to the creature no matter the distance, or if you need to vocalize them. I should probably check this.
Well, mostly what I want to try to do is I don't want to break it before it's been able to encounter it. I know he said he was going to have to try and find that person, so
Mhm.
but I guess I'm kind of stuck because and then I don't does it when I told him that consider yourself released from my control when you have satisfied your heart's desire, does that is that a command that would enable him
Break free from
to
control,
be
yes.
automatically broken? Okay, so
Yes.
if it hasn't happened yet, then at the very least, I know he hasn't actually managed to find him yet, right?
Yeah, that would
Okay,
be correct. All right. So orders are carried by spiritual link that joins you and your creature. So it's not necessary for the being to understand the controller's language. However, this communication is one way. So basically, you can send more orders if you want, but if you don't, it has to follow whatever order it hasn't been able to resist. So yeah,
okay.
it has since none of them contradicted its nature. It didn't resist any of them. Who do you talk to, or what do you do before we skip a few weeks?
Nobody. I,
Okay.
and can I only send orders, or can I just send a communication? That wouldn't be a direct order.
Um. Let's see. I think you could. I think you could also. Oh my god, that could probably be very annoying. But you could just talk to it, like when it's like the spiritual link you have with Godric, except it's a one way thing, and he's not bound to your soul. The Sphinx.
Gotcha. Okay. The only thing I wish to say is that I sense you haven't found your target yet. If you wish me to release you anyway, I I tell him, well, I tell him I'm going back to Lucretia. What city in Lucretia am I going to?
Dulucart.
Lucart.
The
Okay,
cap.
Dulucart.
Yeah.
I tell him I will be heading back to Dulucart soon, shortly. You may find me there.
Okay, I think you get at least the sense from Godric of like it's really hard to move around the world of Gaia as a supernatural creature if you don't like if you ever need to like be on ground level because everybody freaks out in the supernatural. Um
Yeah, well,
so
fortunately he can fly.
yeah, but like finding you might not be as easy.
Yeah, oh, it's true. There's no way to sense each other, right?
Yep. Unless if you're constantly telling it where you are.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm not giving him commands, so he can still do anything he wants anyway.
All
So,
right. So a couple of weeks later, you make your way to Albidion. As you enter the city of a thousand cathedrals, to the side you see the part of the island that is reserved to the Inquisition's training grounds, in which the austere uh, buildings look rather and the places where the trials are held look really sinister and austere. But you find your way to the city, and who would you be interested in talk like in who do you make your presence known to basically?
oh, that would be. Let's see if his name is up here.
Israel.
Azrael.
Okay. So you head off towards where the Inquisition's headquarters
Yes.
are. Okay. Um, okay. So you, uh, um, Israel is available and is in the Dominion um, currently. So you find yourself once again waiting for an entire hour while Israel makes you, while Israel keeps praying, disregarding your presence for another hour before he gets up and walks towards you, and he has this content smile on his face, and he says, "Congratulations, you did an excellent job in Stygia, from what I've heard."
Thank you. I am completely dumbfounded how you would have heard anything, but what do I know?
News travel fast through certain channels. I I have a friend in Stygia that tells me that everything went properly what according to the intentions of the church.
Yes, I was fortunate enough to be able to make a pretty good impression, I believe, on the Pharaoh, and as much as could possibly be on his high priest. Understandably, he's like, you either are, the Pharaoh or you're not the Pharaoh. That's how everybody gets categorized. And everybody who's not the Pharaoh is not the Pharaoh. So, but I tried, and I think maybe he doesn't hate us as much as he did. I gave them the impression that our religion does not uh, look down upon them or their religion, but we are interested in their religion and we respect their religion. And that would be perhaps true, perhaps not true, but nevertheless, I believe that is what you would wish them to think, and so that is the impression that I made upon them. I mean, we know the truth, but there's no reason to rub that in their faces, I guess.
It's perfect. Now, we will now whenever the war starts, we will look like the more civilized ones who did not start the conflict. Congratulations on dealing with the Sphinx, by the way. I wasn't sure you were going to be able to make it, but either way, whatever happened to you, either you died a martyr or you succeeded to return the word of the attack. Either way, war is closer, and soon we will take over this country in the name of our Lord.
I am pleased that I have been able to serve effectively. I would hope that in the future you might at least give me a little more credit than to be able to survive a Sphinx. Um, I don't
I,
know who sent it. Do you have any idea who sent it?
yes, one of my agents inside of Stygia, who I had impersonate one of their more radical groups. Now we have a good excuse to attack this brotherhood and clear off any of the more moderate of their elements, making them even more radical and making them launch more attacks against us until our people are ready for our crusade. I apologize, of course. I had to lie to you and tell you that I wanted peace, but that is not the will of the archbishop, and so that is not the will of our Lord. Soon we go to war, and it's all thanks to you.
High Inquisitor, I accept anything that you need to do, including putting my life in jeopardy. I don't believe that anything will happen to me that is not the will of God. So if it means that I must crash and burn and that serves his will, I will accept that fate, perhaps slightly begrudgingly. After all, I am a mere mortal, but even so, I accept it.
And like you see a sort of like surprise on his face, and then he says, "I wasn't too sure about you the first time I met you, but that you deserved to be called a saint, one of our saints. But now I am." And he taps your shoulder as he gets up, and like yeah, he's going to start leaving. Um, saying, "May God be with you." And I told you there was going to be a bit of betrayal this game, so
Yes.
keep it. Yeah.
High Inquisitor, is your agent all right? I sent the Sphinx after him to kill him. I mean, I didn't know he was your agent at the time, but
That that's understandable. I ordered him to hide because I knew you might that this was something that could happen. Hopefully, he makes it. Otherwise, I'll get another person to work for me.
I see. Yes, I did meet some of the people of this brotherhood.
Hmm. Did you? So like that stops him, and he says, "Did you have any trouble with them?"
No, no, no. Just and I'm sorry, refresh my memory. She specifically said that Brotherhood used to be a more violent group, but they're trying to.
She mentioned that their intentions at first were more harmful to you, but she convinced them that because of what you did in the tomb, that maybe they should reconsider their approach, and instead, like she was, despite being part of this group, she was more than willing to help you instead of attacking you, as the original plan was.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, I should probably mention another thing to you. Uh, Not that you don't already know, but after all, confession. I was actually able to channel their ancient high priest Khan Nefer while I was there in their city of the dead.
There's a pause, and he says, "I don't. Uh, I suspect that you're telling me this in confession because that priest wasn't a very religious person. Not was not someone who worshipped our god. Is that what you're saying?"
Yes, he uh there in the in the necropolis is his remains, including some of his personal effects. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that in case, should I not be around, and you find yourself at the point where you are able to raise the belongings of the enemies of God, you might want to know of that particular as an amulet and a scepter, I believe. Was it a scepter or a staff?
Uh, like it looks like halfway between them. So yeah, okay. Uh, uh, he nods. He says, "I'll make sure to transmit this to the rest of the to our agents for whenever we take the capital." You um you were telling this to me as a for our strategy, or were you asking if how the Inquisition looks upon channeling the powers of infidels?
No, I think I understand the position of the Inquisition, and I firmly believe that you understand that uh, I would only do something like this in service of the Lord, who would never allow me to unleash anything evil
Yeah.
upon us. So mostly, I just wanted to. I don't know, and I don't want to presume to know. Obviously, in the unfortunate event I should be captured and tortured, the less I know, the less I can hurt you and the Inquisition. So, I just wanted to make sure you knew that those items were there, and as I was able to do so, so too could somebody who perhaps didn't have the proper interests in doing so.
He he says, "I think I understand. I'll uh, the consider the Inquisition. What's it called? Warned? Yeah. Warned. The church has no other expectations from you at this point, other than to keep representing us wherever you go."
I shall, and as always, feel free to contact me if I can be of service.
Okay. Um, all right. So, how does your character actually feel about this interaction, and would Godric be trying to comfort you after this, yeah? How do you I feel like if you haven't shown your true feelings, Godric might try to address this in a more uh, animal way, like you're hiding something. So what do you?
Okay, so in all honesty, I don't appreciate uh, him sending uh, the the Sphinx after me. I
Hmm.
hope that the Sphinx found and ate his infiltrator in a horrible, horrible fashion. I'm concerned that Aziz may suffer. I really do want for our people to become allies with them. I
Mm.
think Azrael is acting in what he believes is the best interest, but I don't believe is in the best interest of our people or their people. I think he's a maniac, probably that should be stopped by somebody, and I don't think I am in any position to do so. So I secretly pray that God will allow him to see the light and how wrong his ideas are. I understand being prepared in
Yeah.
case a war happens, but now that he's clearly pushing for a war to happen, I feel as though maybe I knew him in a past life, or maybe someone like him in a past life.
Yeah, I timed it. I didn't time it as well as I should have, but I wanted that reveal moment to come at the same time as when your father was being arrested. Like I wanted at least those two moments to happen in the same session. Um, but yeah, Godric fuels your worry and your distaste for the way the situation turned out, and asks if there's anything he can do to help.
You are an excellent friend. If you would be willing to continue to do so, I think I will find comfort in knowing that you'll be by my side to face whatever trials may lay before us.
Always, as long as I live.
Well, hopefully beyond that as well.
There's like you know how a cat's like stands on end when there's something that they're like frustrated or scared about. You get the same like sensation from through his senses because he I think he understood like I think he's like, are you going to raise me back from the dead like that priest does to people? That's
Oh, I would only do that if it was actually you coming back the way you are. Now, I wouldn't do that in a zombie wander around decayed state. That would be horrible. I would never do that to you.
uh,
Oh, I see.
yeah, that calms him down a little bit.
I simply meant that should the time come where you lose your physical form, perhaps your essence, your spirit will
Mm.
be able to comfort me. If not directly, then at least through the memory of you, I will be able to find comfort.
Like you get this sensation that he doesn't necessarily understand this idea of something lingering after death in people's memories. But just like whenever Sophia is talking about history, those are like really alien notions to him. There's no in his more animal mind. There's nothing beyond the now and the here. You know,
Gotcha.
there's very little beyond the now and the here and one's own existence.
So, Godric, do you remember when we first got there and how you were thinking that it's an awful place because the land is so barren and everything was just it was hot and it was there was no vegetation on the ground or anything like that. And then do you remember when we went to that fountain and I splashed the water on you? Do you remember how good that felt when I was splashing the water on you?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm.
That's a
I
that's a
can.
lingering memory that maybe you didn't have the memory itself, and now that I reminded you, you did. Well, for my kind, we have those memories, many of those memories. We often think about and dwell upon things from our past. That first time when you climbed out of the garden and came to me, and we were able to establish our bond. I think about that on a regular basis. Like every time I look at you, every time I see you, I remember that. That's part of my identifying you. So that's how it is for our people. So that's what I mean. If once one of us goes, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, should that time come when I lose you, I will still have the memory of you in my mind. Even though you may not physically be here, my memory will still keep you alive in my mind.
um, you you can feel that he transmits the idea that he doesn't understand the use for remembering good things like this, but you did notice him wagging his tail when you remember when he remembered you splashing water on him. So there's a weird understanding and lack thereof between the two of you.
Yeah, he understands. He just doesn't understand that he understands.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is a part of the campaign where you're sort of like free to take um, the different actions that you want throughout the world. And before we go on the next expedition where you could learn more things about your past, about your land, and things like that. But until then, because of like how you might find some characters more important than others, you could like do something in those characters' regards, or like if you have other objectives before we start the next expedition, we can get those things done. So what would your character do after this fateful meeting with the High Inquisitor? By the way, real quick, High Inquisitor Azrael is one of my favorite antagonists to have in things because he has this like horrible tragic backstory that justifies why he's a fanatic against the supernatural and anything that goes against his religion. But he's also like just he does not stop for anything to accomplish like what he thinks his god's goals are.
So you're
So like
saying that in the characters for tomorrow, they would love this guy.
yeah, exactly. Like they would be exactly on the same page as the Inquisitors in the other game. Like
Well, the
it's
first thing. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead. No. Like I was just going to mention how. Despite the fact that you're a saint and an inquisitor in both games, you have like different points of views. And the new player that we got that's going to be on the third game, he's going to be playing an inquisitor in one game and a mage in the other one. So there's also going to be like
Wow. Yeah.
uh, wildly differing opinion paths between the games. So yeah, what did you want to say?
Well, the first thing I have to do, I made a promise, and I'm going to keep that promise. So Godric and I are going to go out and find the most lush location we can, and we're going to frolic for a little while.
All right. Um, I think there's either like public gardens that are where nature is like well trimmed and tamed, or there's the wilder forest that's like near the capital. Those would be your options.
I think Godric would much prefer wild to man manipulated nature. Sort of the
Um,
same way I prefer whole people to people who have parts of them chopped off to make them perfectly symmetrical.
yeah, Godric is going to agree to that. Okay, so you're gonna spend some time in the forest. I think something. Okay, you're going to in the forest. You're going to come across the symbol of the empire. There's a species of white lions in this setting that are the symbol of the empire because the first emperor had a pet lion called Arturia, and when you're not going to physically come across it, but Godric is, and both of them are going to look at each other with a sort of like semi recognition. What would your character do in these circumstances?
If he looks like he's having a moment, I'm going to allow him to go with that moment. I'm going to observe him. I'm not going to try and interfere, but I'm going to try and receive as much information from him as I can. Like,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm going to give him time to have his moment before I actually start asking him about it.
Okay. Um, So Godric has this weird moment of recognition, like someone seeing a picture. Like the sensation can be compared to seeing a picture of one's past life. If you saw like a painting of, um, Inich, or whenever you have like flashbacks, that's something similar to what Godric is experiencing. Does your character know where Godric's species, the Calf Phineas, come from?
Um, I I don't know. I mean, I think he came from the garden. Have I? Unless I've ever read about them before.
You can roll for a cult to find out. It would be a difficulty. I'd think 120 to know, because there's a specific religion that has a specific legend on where they could on where those creatures could be from. But
Okay.
so like yeah, that's why the difficulty is a bit high.
And I can't spend fatigue. I know that.
Still can't.
Oh no, 99.
Okay. So yeah, you don't recall like you have no idea what births creatures like Godric. You know that a lot of supernatural creatures that you can control are like elementals of something or another. Like the Sphinx was born out of the spiritual energy of riddles. The Netzwerkquartil is, I think, a spirit of cockroaches and assassination, something along those lines. So, like,
Okay.
uh, but yeah, Godric has this moment of like deep questioning about this weird sensation of I used to be different from what I am now. What do you and then like the white lion just like goes off to hunt something it can actually eat.
Oh,
Um,
oh, he was actually face to face with an actual white lion.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, then I would have wanted to try to look at it with my third eye. I thought it was a. You said it was a plaque of something that he found and was looking at.
Oh no 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 no! It was an actual white lion that is the species like that is the symbol of
Oh,
the
okay.
able.
Yeah.
Um,
Was I there to see it, or did I just sense this off somewhere
you,
else?
you sensed it through him because you were like far away. But if you want, we can roll for athleticism, and if you beat a difficulty of 80, you could reach the white lion before it headed off and observe it with your third eye.
No, I don't. I don't imagine that's something I would do. I don't
Okay,
think I would race through the woods like that.
all right. Yeah, your character might be like at the edge of the woods, experiencing stuff through Godric. Okay. So I think Godric after that is just going to have had enough of the forest and to like return to you.
All right. So, how was frolicking?
Strange. I met a creature that was uh, to me what Inish is to you
Ah,
in some way.
so maybe you were once an actual lion.
Maybe.
I like you the way you are now.
There's a pause, and then it asks, "Am I like these?" And it imagines the guards from the tomb, the mummies, animated by undead and by a necromantic magic.
You are not like those. Those are formerly living people who were turned into a unnatural dead thing controlled by somebody. Now, between you and I mean, I can exert control over you, but Ours is more of a understanding between the two of us that we serve each other. So it's a much it's a much more beneficial relationship, and you have a lot more freedom than they do because they only do what they were told to do the way they were told to do it, and when they're not doing something they were told to do, they don't do anything. But you do whatever you want to do in between the moments when there's danger, when we go to alert, but other than that, you look at things, you come and go as you please. In the woods there, they would never do anything like that, like what you just did in the woods.
What's that called? The desire and the energy to do things beyond the circumstances and the orders that are given to a person, to a thing.
That's called freedom of choice. You have the
So
freedom.
okay, it's Godric knows, like uh, it seems to understand that humans have a name for for what he's experiencing, and
You are, in fact, even different from others like you because of the bond that you and I have, you will grow and become stronger and better at fighting and better at sensing things, whereas others of your kind will always remain as they are. So you actually are, in a way, an improved version, and that is because of the connection between the two of us. Well, the thing that links us together allows you, just as I too will in time become better at doing the things that I do, you will become better at doing the things that you do.
um, so yes, I am learning a lot from our connection.
Yes, more so than you would have if you were just what you are and we traveled together. Without this bond, you would have less awareness of what's happening, and you would be more uh, creature of of instinct rather than actually having these thoughts and conversations and such.
Um, Okay. Are you? I think like uh, that's like about when you would be on your way back from the forest, noticed by um, like a group of people coming out of the Sunday mass, and the priest like pointing to you as one of the saints, and like you'd have to like do a bit of like what's it called, public relationships that would cut to the rest of the conversation, and yeah, what are you going to do afterwards? Is
Uh,
your next step?
Afterwards, I'm going to make it back to the city to meet up with that expedition. I will ask if there's any groups heading that way and that I can travel with, because I probably don't want to go traveling all by myself.
Yeah. As you start to head towards Dulukart, yeah, there's probably like groups of uh, merchants transporting wares, either through boats or through land that would have like guards and like a group traveling together for safety. Um, but the lands of the Dominion and Dulancart are relatively safe in at this stage of the game. So yeah, I think you make your way back to Dulancart, and um, find that Sophia has assembled like a very similar crew for the next expedition. When it's not funded by the Principality of the Lucretia anymore. It's funded by the Great University, um, but for like research purposes, Sophia says that like she found proof of ancient ruins in Bajo when she was in Stygia, and she managed to secure funding for this expedition as well. Most of the members of the previous expedition are going to like at least the characters that were named are all coming once again with you.
And
But you won't be traveling by Zeppelin this time. You might beyond Alcair. Basically, you can take the Zeppelin line to Alcair, or but beyond that, you're going to have to walk.
okay, let me try and zoom in here to Elk here.
It's right here.
Ah, okay. So
Um,
will and are we going to have an opportunity to pass through Stygia through the? Is that the right below it there where it says Stygia on the map? Right below it, is that
yeah.
the city we were at before?
Yes. You were at Alcair, and the necropolis is right here.
Okay. Are
Yeah.
we going to have an opportunity to stop there, or are we going to be trying to
Yeah.
bypass it?
Basically, the Zeppelin line that is now started like will take you to the capital, and from there you're gonna have to find the most convenient way to Bajo. So there's different. I think yeah, you're gonna spend some time with Sophia and Hero, who are going to be involved in deciding the best route. So, some information on Salazar and Kashmir. Both of them are similar in some ways. The Salazar has even less of a population than Stygia. Um, it has a couple of nomadic tribes roaming throughout the desert. It's only seen as a principality because it was a territory used by inhabited by the different tribes, who never really recognized the authority of the empire because there weren't enough resources to need to impose the laws of the empire on so few people. It would have been a waste of resources. The Kashmir was instantly a bit similar, except that the capital was trading port, and there were other tribes roaming through it. The problem is there's currently a bit of a war going on in the Kashmir because the Azure Alliance is trying to take over the country and having a lot of difficulties with this. The Azure Alliance is a group of three countries that have decided to not only split from the empire but also try to take it over and elect a new emperor. They are all here. It's the countries that are all the way here. Do you see where I pinned or not?
No, I'm zoomed in on Salazar.
Okay. If you could you zoom out for a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So Remo, Tugarini, and Belafont are
Oh,
the three members of the Azure Alliance who are I think they're actively at war with Abel and trying to like replace the Imperatrice. Imperatrice?
Imperium?
Hmm? No,
No?
like emperor, but it's the emperor's daughter. What's the
Oh,
feminine of
Empress. Empress.
Empress? Yeah, they're trying to replace the Empress Elizabeth with somebody new. So basically, it's either this desert that is that acts like a liquid because of how much it moves, or this place that is at war, or the long way around through the Namwe, which is a bunch of jungles. If you're going to go by land. And there aren't a lot of boats that go to the Bajo, basically. So there's lots of discussions on what's the best way there.
Okay.
What's where would your vote fall, since you're the reason the expedition is happening in the first place?
Yes, Godric, I know it's a jungle. I know you want to go through the jungle. Um, yes, I know. I know. So the jungle option would be if we went north of the mountains and around through Kashmir.
Yeah, basically, the idea would be to make your way there through the Kushistan. It's not the favored option, but basically because basically at some point you would need to find a way to cross this the a part of the Sea of Guren, but it's and it would take you like through about as much desert as if you were heading straight through there. But uh, if there were like if you found reasons not to want to go through the Kashmir or Salazar, there's also that.
Okay. So Manway,
Mm-hmm.
Nanway, is that it? Nanway?
Yeah,
Is that a
yeah.
friendly?
It's mostly it's mostly inhabited by this like tribes that haven't necessarily been contacted by the empire for a while, and it's mostly it has a similar vibe to the Amazonian jungle in the way that it's presented.
Okay. So what if we what the okay, so the red line on here, is that like a
Red lines are what did we call it? Borders between lands.
oh,
So
borders? All right.
for example, Stygia is that's the Stygia's borders basically.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's not like a road or anything.
No, no, no. This is the Salazar's borders right there, through here and here. Kushistan is one of the biggest countries. That's like I think it's the second biggest country in the old continent.
Okay. Well, if we're taking, there's no boats.
The problem with boats is that currently, because of the war the Azura Alliance is probably like stopping ships that go through this region. So going through the inner sea would be difficult.
I see. No, I was thinking more about getting down here.
Okay, so that would involve crossing through both the Stygia and Kushistan, which are lands that aren't necessarily welcoming to Christians. But if you make your way there, let's see, I don't see any cities along the like how would you like you would have to cross through the Namwe to make your way to the nearest port to here.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if we can get down to here. I mean, is this a city here, Garmin Ferrand?
Uh, yes, and it has a cross. So wait, so it's an important city, but it's not a capital because the capital is Karjan. So that's weird. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my maps. It's called Garmi. Okay, Garmi Farah, and it's in Kushistan. Hmm. There's lots to know about the setting, and I don't know all of the cities by very well yet. Like the lore is part of the thing that I'm not as good at knowing about this game as the rules. So,
And what about
cards.
Salazar? What do we know about Salazar?
Mostly tribes, mostly deserts. I think there's 13 tribes or 12. One of the tribes is not exactly recognized as a tribe because they're cannibal monsters who've been turned by magic into something other than humans. And the Sand Sea actually acts uh, uh, like water. Like the sand acts like you can drown in the sand very easily.
Because I was thinking about if we make the trip down, we could maybe stop at this city
Mm,
and then
which one?
make uh,
Here? Oh,
right there,
this city.
this one here for our first stop,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there go to this oasis here, and then
Okay.
make our way to this oasis here, which I'm thinking means we're going to be skirting the Sea of Sand without having to enter it. Ideally,
You'd be at the edge of it most of the time. Yeah.
and then travel around this way
Mm-hmm.
and through here.
Okay. So you're suggesting taking the long roads through the Salazar Desert. Um, it's it would be dangerous because you're going to need to transport a lot of water, and you might need some protection against like if there's um, any sort of either beasts or bandits inside of the desert. And Hero mentions, "Don't worry, I'll protect everyone."
Yes, but
So
how much water can you carry while protecting us all? That's the only problem. But maybe we could get
camels
camels.
yeah, beasts of burden to help us on our trip. Okay, so we'd be going up against the desert in order to avoid the war in Kashmir. Is
Well,
that?
yeah, but the other thing too is if we go this way, and we just head right over,
Mhm.
like around the mountain, and then stay real close to the mountain as we head south along it.
Um, it's a good moment for you to have a flashback. Those mountains are haunted as they're really haunted. There's lots of spirits. You remember it being like a sort of training ground for your people to try to summon dangerous creatures, but it was abandoned because of the fact that people were more often successful. If people have a 50% chance of succeeding at um, summoning and then banishing or controlling, they're more likely. It's likely to happen often that they summon but aren't able to control or banish the creatures. So that's why like the number of creatures piled up and spirits until the area was unusable. But you don't know if it's still as haunted as it used to be. Depends on whether the
Hmm.
Inquisition had a look or not.
Well, then, but also that's in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about going along the base of the mountain rather than going in through the mountain. I want to just travel
Hmm.
as close to the mountain because I'm thinking, I mean, people don't just fight everywhere. They fight
Yeah.
in key places, and there's no
Yeah.
real key places along there, at least till we get to this.
Yeah, and so far the war has been spreading out from Kontami, from towards the inside of the land. We would basically be as far away inside of Kashmir from the war as we can be. So that's a risk to take, but we would be going along a lot more rivers, a lot more sources of drinkable water, and possibly a lot
Yes.
less danger. So Sophia is going to agree with that idea for a travel, and you Hero is going to say that it's going to be difficult for him going through a land that is undergoing a lot of turmoil and not letting his heroic spirits try to solve it.
Yeah. Well,
But I'll manage because I'll be ensuring the security of the expedition first and foremost.
of course, I feel safer already.
So, Sophia says, "I'm glad both of you are here."
And we will do it with style. Because I'm not going to let a game go by when I don't get a chance to roll. Style, the most important
Yeah,
skill in the game.
the most important useless skill in the game.
Oh, it's an open-ended roll.
Oh, nice. Maybe you'll beat Hero at it. But Hero has a class bonus for style.
Cool, 197.
Oh, nice. In total?
Yes.
Oh, 197. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Uh, mm, all right. I think Hero is going to try to like outpose you, outstyle you. Let's see if he succeeds.
Well, if I'm going to do it first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set up a pose that allows Hero to, if he picks up on it, to know exactly how to. It's like painting a painting without the main element of the painting for the next person to come along and be able to, like, I'm framing a scenario for him to take
Oh yeah,
center
it's
stage.
it's perfect, and you know that you're in sync because you're 1 point apart, but you beat him by 1 point.
Excellent.
Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so you start to the preparations for the entire expedition start. Sophia is going to learn as much as possible about the regions that you're planning to go through and the surrounding areas in case you have to deviate from your route. Hero is going to try to hurry everyone along as much as possible so that you make it there before the war takes too much of a dramatic turn. And Lily is going to start uh, um, learning about the different ingredients that are found along the way of your route that you're taking and what sort of recipes can be done with this. And Lucent is going to keep drawing the previous your previous adventures. What are you going to do during these weeks of preparation?
Well, there are actually a few things that I was going to do, but I
Mhm.
probably got to hop off. And we get 4 hours. Yep. So,
Oh, I thought. You have to go now.
yeah, I got a 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking of going on a little bit longer because we took breaks. But if it's fine with you, we can stop here.
Yeah,
If
that's
you're
fine.
okay.
Because I do
Okay,
have
cool.
I have a couple things I want to do. I want to go find the immortal saint and talk to her, and I want to uh,
Okay.
some other people make preparations to. So.
We're gonna have to do that in a flashback because she was probably in the Dominion.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she was being escorted by Israel to come and say goodbye to her daughter. But a lot of the time she's either like off saving the world somewhere or in the Dominion where her body is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I wanted to talk to her about Lily.
We could just do a flashback of this
Yeah. Yeah.
at the
Sure.
beginning of the next scene. Yeah, like don't worry about this. Okay. Hi everyone, and thank you for watching this video.
If you want to keep up with all of the adventures on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so you can get a notification each time we upload the next episode of this story. And it would be very nice of you to like and share the video to help this channel grow. Have a nice day, everyone.